Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
An absolute disgrace.
That's your knowing mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump! You know what I'm saying?
Welcome everyone to episode 515 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, with a little bit of a change on the intro as to not offend the YouTube moderators early. Thank you everyone for joining us. With me today, Steve Wellings, Ozzie Smith, Andy Patterson. I'm your host, Matt DJ Leonardo. Yesterday, what an interesting day. You know, it's in a country with a storied boxing history that is only growing still at this point in time, and in one of the most storied divisions in boxing's history, we were treated to an incredible battle yesterday between two warriors with incredible heart, and two tremendous athletes as well. It was just incredible. Of course, I'm talking about the fight from the UAE between Gerald Miller and Lucas Brown. Oz, you insisted on that being in the prediction league. What do you think of the fight between Granddaddy Brown and Big Titty Miller?
Personally, is it volume better or not?
Your sound's still patchy, mate.
Right, I'll try another device.
Who you got a better lead in now, Matty? Because I just fucked it.
Well, Matty, what's happening?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Now then I was on mute. It's off just amazingly, Steve. This new intro is fucking cursed. Thank you, Steve. It was nice seeing you're playing with new visual tools there. Took me back to the days when I first learned PowerPoint and tried to get every single wash in there that you could. You know, how many times can you do a star wash? Anyhow. It was good war there, Steve. Good war. I just Gerald Miller and all of his 330 pounds of fatness. Lucas Brown and all of his 43 years of age. Yes, I'm calling him Granddaddy Brown. Calling him Big Titty Miller, but fuck me, man. It didn't matter for nothing, but that was entertaining. I mean, basically, as soon as the second bell rang, it was game on, and just fuck, let him go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all talk about the great fights in Madison Square Garden and the MGM Grand Las Vegas and the sweet science of Jack Johnson and Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard and all these boys, but sometimes you just can't beat two fat shits swinging for the heavens, trying to knock each other out. And I know these two ped cheats have had their problems in the past, and the last thing to go is the punch. But either Lucas Brown's punch has started to disappear, or Big Baby Miller, the Savage as he calls himself now, has one hell of a beard because he just soaked up those shots. He had a lovely pair of tits, a nice Illuminati weighing 333 pounds as well. I tell you what, that's the sad thing about Miller. Maybe it is due to the fact that he's on the peds. He has a fantastic engine, really good beard. He's able to throw a lot of shots. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, but he can overwhelm people. And at a certain level, he's going to be a dangerous dude. And the fact that he just keeps on popping all the time means that he's going to only ever turn up in these kind of circus fights. And I know our esteemed colleague, Underwater Oz, was saying last week that Brown would maybe catch him and knock him out like he did against Junior Farr.
Oh, he caught him a bunch of times. Caught him all sorts of times.
Exactly. That's the thing. Miller has one hell of a beard on him, managed to soak up the shots as best as he could, and Brown just wasn't able to put a dent in him. He's 43 years of age. Ordinarily, you'd say that's the end of him. That's the last we're going to see of him. But in the heavyweight division, the upmarket premier heavyweight division, when the likes of the UAE, Dubai, Saudi Arabia are looking to throw out money left, right and centre to get these boys on their cards, like the Pro Box TV card last night, there's going to be opportunities. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brown come back in another main event. But Miller, if he can keep himself clean and pass tests in America, which is a big job for him, as we've seen in the past, he can be a player to a certain point. I mean, he's not going to trouble the elites, but putting him in against Dillian White in a big slop fest, there's definitely money there. Doesn't matter what you do in boxing.
I think you beat the shit out of Manuel Char too. It was funny he was laughing it off, and I agree with him. He would. I think he just shit all over him.
Yeah, Char's in a big lawsuit with Don King at the moment, isn't he? But Miller, he's going to be a problem for anybody. He will have a go. And in boxing, as we've seen before, I'll just close out by saying, it doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if your drugs cheat. Doesn't matter if you run somebody over. Doesn't matter if you even kill somebody. If you're an attractive heavyweight and your name sells, they'll keep bringing you back time and time again. So the Jarrell Big Baby Miller story is far from over.
Yeah, and Andy, if he could get down to 300 pounds, I think it'd be a much more interesting story. The guy is, he's built like a brick shithouse. He's never going to be a 250-pound heavyweight. He's just a big man, period.
Mate, the body mass of him, man, is absolutely immense. I mean, you would need to be punching God power to fucking basically put that guy in his ass, maybe even knock him out. Maybe accumulation is probably the best you can hope for. He was marked up. I think it was his left eye. I think was a bit swollen. Brown was catching him, as I was saying to you guys just before the start. Brown was lining up uppercuts throughout that fight, and he just could not land. Well, he missed more than what he landed, put it that way. So I just thought if he landed some of those shots, it might have been a wee bit different. But at the same time as Brown did land some heavy shots, Miller ate them up, and then he just seemed to be, was it round 5, I think it was. He just stepped forward and he just started letting his hands go, and it's fucking frightening that a guy that size, that big, so fucking out of shape can still put punches together like that. It was like 5 or 6 punch combos, man, and there was meat behind every single punch he threw. Brown, fair play to him round 5, man. He took some big shots. He was rocking. You could say that some referees could have jumped in and far sooner and stopped that fight. He was allowed to go to the 6th round. Both were breathing heavy, man. I felt Brown was possibly showing fatigue by early as round 4, and then he just took, it was a right hand, I think it was, a flurry follow up, and then he's got dropped. And the best thing was the stoppage. But what can you say, man? But I'm not really bothered about Miller as such. I get what you're saying, if he's able to get himself down in weight, but at the same time, this guy doesn't deserve a chance. This guy's fucking just out his mind, or has been, yet you're still going to give him opportunities. I was laughing.
John Pascal.
I was laughing to myself when Steve mentioned, maybe fighting Dillian White. I would love to see Eddie try and spin this shit, man. Dillian White and Jarrell Miller, after all this shit that he's tested positive for, and after all this shit Eddie's went through here in the last fucking 4 or 5 months with Conor Ben, you imagine trying to sell us that shit? That would be glorious. But yeah, look, Miller's going to take a bit of shifting, obviously, in that. But again, we need to consider what levels he's fighting at here. You can easily get outboxed. Someone who can maybe stick and move him, but at the same time,
Andy, don't tell me that the thought of Jarrell around 300 pounds against Joe Joyce, that just doesn't sound entertaining. Don't tell me that that's not entertaining.
But I mean, no, it's just no entertainment. What's the point?
Yes,
listen,
Steve, how are you not entertained, right?
Joyce is literally punched on the heavy bag in that fight on live television, surely.
I think it'd be a fucking entertaining as shit. I mean, they're both fucking immovable objects. I'd just like to see Miller a little thinner because like not just only for the quality of the fight, but for the sake of the man's fucking life.
Put him in with Deontay Wilder, man. Wilder had hit him that hard, he'd test friggin' negative at the end of the fight.
Wilder or Joyce would actually fucking brutalise him so bad they might even end his career, man. He'd be a standing target for them.
You just said he should. You just said he shouldn't get a chance.
No, but come on, man.
End his career.
He has a men's fucking shift. Come on, man. At the same time, as you got two guys here who can literally punch straight shots all night long. There's not so much you're going to take. I mean, as I say, you're not going to stop the guy, like ice him possibly. You're going to maybe stop him on accumulation. It's going to take a big man to stop him, like. But that's a crucifixion, man. Why would you send him in to get him fucking rearranged like that, mate?
Andy, as a wise man once said to Jarrell Miller, "You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking arsehole. I hope you fucking die."
Suppose, man, we could see that then. I dare say Del Boy would be in for that fight.
And it was just an epic crap fest, man. And even the post fight interview with Char hopping in there. I mean, this card, ladies and gentlemen, it was a shit show from the start. I was happy to see. I didn't know until yesterday morning that this was actually going to be on my ProBox TV subscription at 10 o'clock in the morning, no less. So I was going to have boxing out the wazoo for Saturday. And 10 o'clock, turn it on, and the stream is just crap. And I mean, it's crap for like the first hour. I don't even think I paid much attention to the Jean O'Carroll Miguel Mariaga fight. It was just it was so crappy. But thank God it came together, Steve, by the time that we got to Asbaroff against Glanton. A day of absolute shit scorecards. Let me fucking say that beforehand. And no country has their fucking hands clean from this. It would be great to be able to fucking get on my stool, but the fucking Dazn card fucked that up. That's another story. But Steve, this was a good fight. Some changes in momentum. Asbaroff showing that he definitely had something about him. I personally thought that, much like the David Light fight, that Glanton just snuck this one out. Madly disagreeing with the scorecards of 98, 92, 97, 93 for Asbaroff, as well as a draw card, which I thought was fair. I thought 96, 94, either way, the draw was fine, but fuck me. Those cards just messed up what was a truly entertaining fight. I mean, the last two fights of this card, great bang for your buck. Good shit.
Yeah, great bang for my buck because I didn't pay any bucks towards it, but I actually enjoyed from what I saw of it. Just touching on Asbaroff against Glanton. I picked Glanton last week, but it was kind of against my better judgment. I was thinking to myself, surely they must know something about this Asbaroff to put him in against someone as experienced. He's not very polished, Glanton. I know he's a former.
They bought the judges.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. He's a former NFL player. We'd seen him when he fights guys who are straight up and down, no special effects, as Rob says, like Effie Apoche. And was it Dion Nicholson or so? I can't remember. He fought somebody else as well, and there were straightforward brawls. He kind of enjoyed that sort of fight. But when anyone showed him a bit of nuance and moved around him a bit, he would struggle a little bit, given the fact that he wasn't necessarily a natural boxer. I, like you, thought he beat David Light, especially with the knockdown towards the end. In this one, I thought Asbaroff kind of just nicked it, maybe 95, 93, something like that. But it was very, very close. The scorecards were absolutely ridiculous, and he was really blowing out of his hole late on. I had a little look at Asbaroff after the pod last week, and he'd been involved in MMA and stuff like that. Not really much in the way of amateur record that I could see of, but he had been a very decent amateur. But he could definitely move, but it was toward the end of the fight that I kind of feared for him. But I really was close to picking him last week, so I thought to myself, he must have something about him to put him in against someone like Glanton. And then when I saw Glanton, obviously he's kind of part of the Pro Box team as well, thought maybe he'd been brought over to win. But anyway, I'm rambling on shite now. Asbaroff deserved to win very narrowly, but the scores were too wide for my liking. Quick word on John O'Carroll as well. It's funny, isn't it? Whenever Miguel Mariaga came over as the big punching Colombian, I can't remember who he fought first. Was it Shakur Steed? No, or Lomachenko? Or he come over as an unbeaten a few years ago on ESPN, and now he's got to the point where he's had that many losses. I saw him against Conlon actually a few fights ago. That he's been beaten by John O'Carroll over 10 rounds. The customary cut as usual. Can't really punch Carroll. But as we've said before with Rob, who's jumped on there now, he's dug himself out a nice little career over the years and getting those Dubai paydays. So all in all, it was a fun card. Even the little 4-rounders were good. So, but the stream was shocking. I managed to get another version, thankfully, to see exactly what was going on.
Yeah,
It's
Rob.
maybe something for. Sorry, Matt. I was just going to say, Steve, it's maybe something for Belly of the Week. But did you notice that even the 4-rounders were getting the wee shitty belts?
Yeah, the hardcore boxing or something
What the
titles.
There
you go.
Goopy.
I'm gonna bring that up in Belly of the Week.
They are, Andy.
They had
Oh,
the
here
one
we
that
go.
was a draw, and they just had Antonio Tarver pick whoever he wanted to get the belt. They just like,
Oh,
you.
Shit, man.
But,
And also,
yeah.
I might bring up something as well about the sponsor of that platform there last night, which we'll get into at Belly of the Week. It's quality.
But, Rob, yeah, it's John O'Carroll moving over to Dubai. Are we soon to hear the words "Assalamu alaikum" Seamus said all around Ireland? What's going on here?
Crawling up fucking Floyd's arsehole as well.
I don't know what the potential Irish Dubai connection could be. To be honest with you, no, nothing about it. I didn't see anything. I don't know nothing about it.
But hey,
could be some disruption going on over there.
We've hit on Brown and
you've hit on a
Miller.
lot of things, Matty.
I know it's at a higher success rate than anyone would ever believe if they saw my face. But anyways, we saw Brown. We've already gone over Brown versus Miller and touched on Glanton versus Asperoff. Why don't you touch on those? And I'll move into Andy.
I don't even know the result of the second one. Glass off. How did Blast Off do? Did he do good?
No, I can say Glasnost, mate.
Glass nose. How did he do?
He believes in perestroika.
Oh fuck! Did he win Glass Off decision? That was what I was looking for.
Glanton, whatever.
Glanton decision.
Yeah, it didn't go our way on that one. Still a good fight. Brown versus Miller, man, that was an epic shit fest.
Well, look, if you fucking if you do your full fucking 6 weeks camp and you come in at Big John Fisher's walking around weight after the camp, there could be some fucking questions to ask about dedication about Big Baby Miller. Maybe there's some indicators in his career so far that he likes to take a shortcut, or it's maybe not dedicated in training. A big unit, like two big useless piles of shit, fighting it out for our entertainment. One of them shot to bits, and the other one a has-been that never was. So what's not to love really about that? I mean, look, it was entertaining. It was never going to fucking go the distance, as you kind of reminded us all last week.
Yeah,
And,
I should have fucking made you guys stick with your stupid pick of a decision.
You'd be out of the basement by now. You should have said nothing. Your kindness would be the death of you.
Like, you fucking idiots. God damn it.
But, yeah, like, I tell you what, make Big Baby Miller versus fucking Dillian White. There's a fight for Dillian White. It'll be a big pay-per-view revenge for his brother AJ before he gets to fight AJ. Could Baby Miller pull the fucking skids, and could Big Baby Miller set up the potential fucking AJ fight that never was by beating Dillian White? Here you go. There's storylines for you, Dazn, because I know you're looking for fights. So put Big Baby back in the mainstream now. He served his ban. Every other country's fucking juicing anyway. Get him back. Get him. Let's get Serafina and Big Baby back together again. But seriously, you'd want to be on a serious note. Lucas Brown, whoever the fuck, someone just get him and say, look, man, hang him up now, like, will you? A rugby player knocked you out. Big Baby Miller's after ironing you out. Dave Allen has knocked you out. Like, you had your fucking moment in the prize fighter with James Toney. That's it. Like, or whatever your fucking, wasn't prize fighter, whatever your fucking moment was with James Toney, the goes to him. And it's been all downhill for a long time. Like, Dillian White knocked him out about 8 fucking years ago, man. Like, he's been taking fucking concussive knockouts there for the last serious amount of time. Like, honestly, like, someone would be really wanting to say stop sanctioning fucking Lucas Brown fights at this stage. Like, he's just waiting to get smashed to bits in every fight. Like, and he's got no, like, he's not even fit, you know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking, wow, I don't know, he must need the money or whatever, but, or just love the sport. But fair play to him, actually. He wore a Box of Asylum t-shirt before. I changed everything I said about fucking Lucas Brown. He's one of the greatest. He's up there with the Haymaker.
I think he's a cool guy and a character. Again, he's one of those kind of characters that only boxing can produce, and he's definitely overachieved off of anybody thought that he would do coming into the sport. I mean, so good on Brown. The fact that you guys thought for a moment that fight was going to go the distance, I thought you were all fucking mental. Anyhow, Andy, that card was just a madhouse shit show of epic proportions, man. And to top it all off, we find out we're probably getting an exhibition of Roy Jones Jr. versus Antonio Tarver. This will be the fourth encounter. And they're going to be fighting for a condo or an apartment in Dubai, provided by the sponsor, some housing company. Yeah, that's what they're going to be doing. So you're going to have Roy Jones Jr. versus Antonio Tarver in an exhibition for a apartment in Dubai. This is where we are, Andy.
That's where we're at. So listen, how can you wear an apartment as a championship belt? You can't. To be honest, I was a bit like Steve. My stream was actually a bit kind of hit or a miss. Sometimes you had to kind of refresh it a fair bit.
It was terrible, Andy. It was
in Russian as well. So thankfully I didn't hear it. I seen Floyd ringside along with, was that Ray Flores? I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen they two. Floyd in the ring looked like a jockey.
He was all right on comms. I thought he did good, other than the fact that he said blow their load every 2 minutes. But you know,
trying to remember what fights I kind of caught. Well, I think I just turned it on and John O'Carroll was making his ring walk. It was kind of fucked up because you had you have John O'Carroll fighting down mid card, and you have like a couple of 4-rounders in after him. Then the main event. But yeah, it was a bit of a shit show around, to be fair. Trying to remember who else was on that card. I think it was anybody else working up worth watching, to be fair.
No, Glanton Asbarov, John O'Carroll. Like you said, John O'Carroll was on quite early, I thought.
I seen bits of the Glanton fight. He was putting a bit of heat on the Russian actually at the time. Some people were saying that he's maybe feeling unlucky that not to get a decision. But I kind of caught it for like round 6. I think it was a 10-rounder, I think.
Yeah, and he definitely won the better portion of the last half of the fight. But the first half of the fight was definitely towards Asparov. But I thought Glanton probably nipped the first on my on my card. I mean, not much happened. And given that and what he did in the last half, like I said, I had him just barely. And you couldn't be upset about that fight at a draw, or if it was like 96-94, either way. You know, I think, you know, you can't call it a robbery or anything like that, but just how wide those cards were is just absolutely nuts. Couldn't have, unbelievable. Like
the one on Friday night was even worse, mate.
What happened on Friday night? What'd you see over there that I didn't catch?
You watched it, the Ahmed Braithwaite fight.
I didn't watch that.
Did you watch it? I sent it earlier to you.
No.
We'll get to it then. We'll get to it in the wrap up. Oh, it was disgraceful. Terry O'Connor fucking strikes again, man.
Okay.
Steve might have saw it, I think.
Oh, I literally turned it on at the end whenever the scores were being read out. So I can offer nothing else other than Fat Terry hate.
There you go. Hating on Fat Terry coming your way here soon. You know, that was the Big Daddy Brown, Gerald Miller. Again, I'm going to start Granddaddy and Big Titty. That's where we're going to go from here. That was a good fight. But if you wanted a fight that mattered, and was really entertaining, Cyrus Pattinson against Chris Jenkins. What a fantastic fight that was. Pattinson just finally the ref stepping in with mercy in the 9th round. Just Jenkins taking too many shots. Steve, I really enjoyed this fight from bell to bell, man. They came in swinging lots of hard body shots in there. And for his 6th fight, man, incredible by Pattinson. It just seemed, you know, it was basically equal in there, except for the size. And I think the size just told down the stretch.
Yeah, the size often tells when push comes to shove. I'd recognise the name of Pattinson. I know he's a good amateur and that, but it kind of blended into the bowl of prospects. And now he's kind of separated himself from those other guys, from your Hopey Prices and your Dalton Smiths. I thought he looked excellent, actually. For the most part against Jenkins. It looked like Jenkins was going to take over. He was tagging the body. We heard a lot of the times over the weekend, guys who hadn't gone particular distances, like Pattinson had never gone 10 rounds before, so they made that out to be an advantage to Jenkins. Now, sometimes that can be an advantage, but just because a guy's never gone the 8, the 10 or the 12 before, doesn't mean he isn't capable of doing that. And I thought he showed a lot of stamina, a lot of heart, a lot of resolve, picked his shots really well, started off very fast. He slowed down naturally as Jenkins started touching the body and he never really took over Jenkins, but he was definitely in the fight in those kind of middle portion of the rounds. And then whenever Gary Lockett said after about the 7th, I think it was, or 8th, have you got a couple more rounds in you? You could tell then, because he knows Jenkins, they've been together a long time, that he was really flagging. And at the end there, he was standing on the ring apron with the towel ready to go in, and the referee jumped in correctly. And this is a big win for Pattinson. Jenkins is absolutely no mug. Not many people smash him to bits. He had that good fight with Tyrone McKenna last time. I know Marku got rid of him, but this is a little statement victory on the domestic scene for Pattinson, and I'll be interested to see where he goes next. I know they were talking about Harry Scarf and somebody else fighting for the British title. I kind of overheard that. I haven't looked to see what's happening next, but yeah, definitely a tick in the box for Pattinson. Shows he can sort of go that 9-10 round distance and onwards and upwards. He looks like one of the better prospects. I thought there were quite a few huff and puff merchants who flattered to deceive on the night, and he definitely was the pick of the bunch. It was a really good fight.
Well, this is welterweight, wasn't it, Steve?
It was, Jenkins welterweight, welterweight.
Yeah, I mean, number one, Oz, the fantastic fight, round by round, just really entertaining. But following that, I kind of like, man, whether next fight or later on, Esselman's still sitting there, and I think that's a good fight, man. Talk about a good blend of styles, Pattinson and Esselman. That'd be a hell of a war.
I think Esselman would have far too much, in all honesty. I think one big difference last night is Chris Jenkins is not a big puncher, and I think Steve summarised it really well that. I think old age caught up on Jenkins a little bit and he just faded down the stretch. Esselman does the complete opposite, only gets better, somehow he's one of the only fighters that just, I think, it'd be even better after 20 rounds the way, the tank is shown. And I thought Pattinson last night showed that he was quite vulnerable to the body. He got hurt. But this was a really good win. I said last week that I thought Pattinson would win, but Jenkins was live in this fight, and he was much better than the 6-1 the bookies were offering pre-fight, and that showed. This was razor close pre the towel coming in. It was only the last couple of rounds that Pattinson really, started to. I wouldn't even say go through the gears. I think it was more Jenkins just was shattered towards the end, if anything. But this was an excellent piece of matchmaking as well. And Pattinson would have learned so much from last night than what he would have done if he'd have knocked out probably another, 5 absolute no marks. You don't come to win, and then he becomes 10-0, and he's ultimately not had any real tests. Last night, he's essentially 1-0 now. That was his first real test, and he came through. He didn't have it all his own way. Jenkins is experienced. His recent run of results don't tell the full story. I felt he beat Tyrone McKenna. He was ahead against Florian Marku before he got banged out. So the guy has still got something to offer, despite being in the latter stages of his career. Pattinson, great win. I think, talk about, a British title is too early for me. Esselman is the man domestically at 147, without a doubt. I think he'd have far too much. I think a fight with Harry Scarf would be I think I would see that as a bigger test rather than I would Jenkins, purely for the fact that Scarf, has got different skills, but also as well, he's a lot younger. He's had the adversity as well. Scarf is big guy for 147 as well. But if they're talking about the likes of Harry Scarf and people like for Pattinson, I love that route. Again, we had a big debate on it in discussion last week about the traditional routes of, English titles, British titles, all that sort of stuff. And I'd be all for that, great fight. He's clearly got skills, Cyrus Pattinson. And last night, more people will be talking about him than if he'd have scored a win over just some chump who ultimately nobody gives a toss about. So great win. I thought the rest of the card was pretty dire, to be honest. As predicted last week, the Holpy Price fight was an absolute stinker. And that guy, it sounds critical, but every time he boxes, for me, he's just going to go lower down these cards because he's boring. He's got skills, but he's clearly no power. And look, people don't really want to see that. That arena again last night wasn't busy. It was quite empty. And after 3 or 4 rounds last night, if you ever wanted basically a piss break or you wanted to go and get a pint, it was during that fight you were going to go. You weren't going to go after 3 or 4 rounds in the main event because that was action non-stop until the stoppage. The Holpy Price fight was completely different. And then the rest of the card, again, was just a bit lackluster. Soldaker's got, an expected stoppage win over the limited Robert Ismay. Pat McCormack, I thought was, look, he looked steady enough against a limited opponent. I thought the stoppage was a bit harsh, really. I thought it was really odd. It came very, very late. It was like a bit like a sympathy stoppage, more for McCormack, really, because he kind of, landed everything he could, and he still didn't really budge the Italian. He took some big shots, and if it was going to come, you could have ended it 3 or 4 rounds earlier, because nothing really changed apart from the sustained beating he continued to take. So with such a little left in the last round, I think you just give him the Italian the courtesy of just seeing the final bell, because he wasn't hurt, he wasn't busted up at all. And then
and they said on the telecast that would mean that he'd be flagged and he wouldn't be able to fight for a little while. So if he had something that works as just coming in as an opponent, I mean, and those the Italian economy is not great. I mean, he could really be needing that damn money right now.
Yeah, well, I don't know what his situation is back at home or if he had something lined up, but that ultimately is the risk you take. If you are a journeyman or you look to keep active, if you do get stopped or you do get cut, it's a minimum of 4-week suspension by a lot of the boards. So you do run that risk. But I thought last night's was a harsh stoppage. And then the rest of the card, look, let's have it right. I wasn't really that bothered about it. There was a lot of prospects on there, of which they weren't really in competitive fights. Couple of debuts, couple of 2-0, 3-0. Ultimately, nothing. The main event was the highlight of the night. Fantastic matchmaking. Overall, the card poor, but no faults with the main event. And fingers crossed now that with Pattinson, they've shown that he can operate. At that fringe, British level. Still think Jenkins, against a certain level of opponent domestically, can get wins. It's going to be interesting to see. And if you want to talk about people like Harry Scarf, go and make those fights, because they're not going to be difficult. Because Scarf is a guy who struggles for opportunities, so there's no way that fight can't happen next. We don't want to see him come off a great win against Jenkins to then go and fight, Ghana, Zimbabwe, and wherever, Uganda's finest, and he learns absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the main event definitely carried that card, but yeah, the rest was kind of But the main event definitely solid. Andy, shame you missed that. But you said you saw something on Friday. What did your Friday night consist of?
It was just the British title fight between Ijaz Ahmed and Marcel Braithwaite. It was just as I was talking about last week in great detail about 50-50 fights. It certainly was one of those. Ahmed certainly active. I thought Braithwaite, was more matching him. Came back with more heavier shots, I felt, as well. And to me, at least, he won the fight by probably 2-3 points tops. Well, I wasn't kind of officially scoring it, at least. So anyway, the fucking scorecards have come in. Matt Lyson's got it 115-114 to Braithwaite. Kevin Parker's got it a draw 114-114, which I'd be struggling to find possibly. I thought Braithwaite was a kind of clearish winner. But then you've got Fat Terry O'Connor handing in the scorecard of 117-111. I mean, and that's to Ahmed, who I just don't know what the hell he's watching, mate. I just don't know what he's doing there. I mean, he's given us 3 rounds tops to Braithwaite, who I just said there. And I think everybody else who's maybe in the chat who's seen the fight would probably agree that Braithwaite won that fight, deserves far more respect than what he got in the scorecards. Vacant British and Commonwealth title, so they'll probably need to get ordered to do a rematch if it happens.
Maybe. It was a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I mean, Fat Terry, he should be put up in front of the board and made to explain what he has seen there, because absolutely nobody, I've not seen anybody score it for Ijaz Ahmed whatsoever. And then you've got fucking Tubby Terence O'Connor turning in this card, which, we have seen some bad cards over the years, and I would honestly put that up there with one of the worst cards I have ever seen. It was appalling, absolutely appalling. It made no sense whatsoever. For Ahmed, I'm pretty sure that is his 3rd consecutive draw for the British title. He
There was
drew.
many
He drew.
fights that he was
Yeah,
mentioning
he
it because he's
drew.
talking about like he doesn't know if he wants to continue because he's putting himself through all these training camps and then they'll get a decision. I don't think he could complain. I think he should be celebrating the fact that he got a draw there on
Yeah,
Friday night.
that
To
he
be
got
fair,
the draw. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the first he should have been boxing Kais Kadimi again, but Kadimi had to pull out due to injury, so Marcel Braithwaite stepped in, and again it's another draw. So you would think it's going to be interesting actually because I know Kadimi won't lose his spot with the board due to injury, but with that on the back of that draw, who knows? I guess it's how serious is that injury. But yeah, for Braithwaite, he stepped in relatively last minute, should be British champion now. And yeah, and since Sonny Edwards has vacated that belt because nobody would box him for it, it's now been contested 3 times and it's still not been won. So it's mad, really, that isn't it? Over the last 3 fights, nobody has won the title that he vacated because nobody had boxed for it, and that's because it's 3 draws. I don't think I can ever remember that in any form of belt.
Was Matty
in
betting
the
on the
sport.
draw?
Shinny
No, you
Bayard
guys
back in
didn't
his
tell
day.
me. This is the shit you need to inform me of. I don't live there. Help a guy out, man.
I need. I
Hold up
I
your end of the bargain.
remember Shinny Bayard, Steve, and Paul Edwards back in the day. I think did they fight to some draws?
Yeah, well,
About that way.
I was at the fight. It was a draw because didn't they head clash in the first round or something
Aye.
ridiculous? And it was a bad cut on Paul Edwards. Yeah, that was a draw, but a technical draw. It was either the first or second round.
All right. Well,
so it was just to kind of like lay heat on the ass of Fat Terry, man, because I don't know how often he's going to get away with it. I know my tweets are not going to do anything about it, but I tagged the board in there asking, what is he watching? I mean, there was no abuse of anything. I just asked the question, what is he watching? And he needs to explain that 171-11 is a disgraceful scorecard. I mean, I forget the fight. Was it the Diaz fight? I think you got 1 wide scorecard the other way as well. It just made no sense. But that one especially was absolutely horrific. Talk about jobbing the guy. I mean, 114, as I say, was an absolute stretch. But to have it that, so far swing the other way is just outrageous. And he should not be officiating in the next coming weeks until he's made to explain it. Or basically pushed out the fucking door, which is where he belongs, actually.
Yeah, sometimes they're just there too long and they're not doing their job. It's like giving people tenure. If you suck at your job, you shouldn't have it.
Good luck to whoever's pushing him out the door, I say.
Better be a wide door, huh, Steve?
No need to Vaseline the edges if it's not a wide door.
Oh dear. We're so mean to the Fats. I'm overweight myself a little bit, but not like that. My God. Anyhow, in a weekend of really
sitting on his phone again at ringside again. That's what he must have been. They must be fucking looking at these fucking football scores or something like that.
we had a lot of bad scorecards in this week of boxing. Surprisingly, one of the ones that was fair was Michael Eifert taking unanimous decision over Jean Pascal in Canada. Steve Pascal, man, he's just over it. At that age, you never know when your last fight where you got it is, and apparently that one was against Fan Long Meng because he didn't have it against Eifert. Eifert kind of fighting like a powerless Beevil in a way, which he's now the number 1 contender for Beterbiev. Could be a little good tune-up, but man, Pascal just completely passed it. Reflex is not there. Kind of sad to see that. He gave us a lot of good fights over the years.
I wrote him off badly last week, that German, didn't I? Fucking hell, man. I wrote his obituary before that fight.
So did I, to be honest with you, Andy. I just didn't think he had a chance, to be honest. And Pascal keeps pulling the performances out. And even the hometown commentary was saying how wide the scores were. I thought they were going to try and job him at the end, but they didn't. I like a little Thursday evening Canada card for us on a Friday morning when I wake up and St. Patrick's Day was off to watch the card. And I enjoyed it from start to finish, actually. It was pretty good. Jean Pascal, though, he's just washed. Eifert was very basic. He was just throwing 1-2s all the time. He was just more active. Pascal looked old, tired. He was often these sporadic swings at the end of the rounds, and I thought maybe he's trying to preserve his stamina for the end of the fight to really let loose and maybe try and stop Eifert. But as it came, he just wasn't able to do that. He was just soundly beaten. Eifert, for his part, he's maybe European level, fringe contender level. He's a decent enough mover. He hasn't got a punch of any description. But Turbiev would beat the living daylights out of him. If that fight were ever to take place, it wouldn't be competitive at all. But he went over to Canada. He did his job. He was just active, just fresh. Every time Pascal did those little 30-second bursts and the crowd got up for it, he could have maybe stole those rounds. Eifert said no. He stood his ground and came straight back at him, throwing light shots but accurate shots, especially that jab on Pascal's head, and just made it that he was going to win the fight. And as I said, he's no great shakes, but Pascal should probably just knock it on the head now or get some stronger juice and maybe come back again. But all in all, it was an exciting little card. I enjoyed it. I'm trying to think who was on the undercard. Yeah, Matteo Germain against Stephen Wilcox. Wilcox isn't very good. Germain did the best he could to win that fight. Joe Ward knocked out a hapless opponent called Rodriguez in about a minute and a half. And we had a prospect on one of the previous cards. He was a Matteo something as well. Matteo, can't remember his name, but he looked pretty decent. But anyway, they have pulled out this other kid as well, Yoel Angeloni. He knocked out a fella called Alexander Calixto. So this Yoel Angeloni is an Italian based in Las Vegas. He's 19 years of age. Looked really good. Put his shots together lovely, Matty. So definitely want to keep an eye on. And I'll say it for the third time. Long may these Canadian cards continue of all description, because we've got Mbili and Gongora next week as well.
Wasn't there another fight on there that you might not have mentioned?
Oh, yeah, there was a few others, yeah. But, I mean, those are the women's fights. I'll leave them to
there
you.
was a stoppage in a women's fight there with Jessica Kamara getting upset by Zamora coming in about a 500 record and taking her out in the fourth round just against the ropes. Kamara not like, what the fuck just happened? I don't know. I enjoyed that one a little bit. That fucking Zamora normally fights at 130 pounds, 126. Came in there pretty fucking chubby and just fucking thumped Kamara. I thought it was a good time.
I did watch that one. I know there's a couple of women's fights. I tend to fast forward through them unless it's big names, to be honest with you. But no, I did see Zamora getting the win. That was a bit of an upset.
Yeah, quite the upset there. Might have been the upset of the week, in fact, by the numbers. But anyhow, praise be to Canada. We'll be checking out, next week. Gonna have Christian and Billy against Carlos Gongora. So they'll be able to fill your Friday if you wake up and want to get that in at some point in time. To round it out here, we had a really pretty entertaining top of the card from Dazn yesterday, despite the fact that, let's get into this here. Oz, I know that you like to rip on the fat people, so I'll leave this one to you. The main event was supposed to be Zurdo Ramirez against Gabe Rosado, with Ramirez like missing weight by like 7 or 8 pounds or something. Fucking
piss off! It was 12, 14 pounds.
What did he come in at 187?
Yeah, I didn't even.
Oh Jesus,
count, man!
Someone told me 182. I thought. I said, "Oh my
god!" It was 12. It was definitely double digits. It was 12 or 14 pounds.
Tried his best. Happens to us all.
So, Ozzy, I mean, you gotta feel bad for Rosado. He probably walks around at 175 pounds. Took this fight just to be a nice guy to Golden Boy. Then fucking Zurdo can't even fucking make the weight. Not even coming close.
Well, I honestly, I say I don't know what he's done. It's evident he's done absolutely fuck all apart from eat, because to come in,
big John diet,
mate, it is, yeah, and it's one of them, like Zurdo's probably looked at it. You know what? I'll have a cheat night, and then I'll have an excitement night. He's been watching Big John, and as Steve said,
Monday for Zurdo, man.
Exactly, it's been part of it's been part of Big John's It Starts Monday group, and every time Big John puts on weight, Zurdo's clearly thinking, well, I'll do the same. It's working. Clearly not. I mean, I don't look. He's not going to be fine, but because obviously he's not getting paid. But it's a complete insult. Golden Boy should be made to pay Rosado in full. This is not his fault. And we're not even talking by like a pound, we can come to some sort of agreement, or they could have got a late notice replacement. But for a guy to come in 12 pounds overweight, I don't understand what has gone on there. It's not as if, you can say that, it's like a pound over. I'm tired.
I've hit the wall. I can't take any more off here. It's like, dude, you've missed by 12 pounds, for fuck's sake.
I'm seeing that. I can't even believe they gave him 2 hours to shift it. I mean, can you imagine he'd have come in on weight after 2 hours? He'd have been absolutely corpsed. Wouldn't he? Somebody shedded 12 pounds in 2 hours. But no, I don't know what has gone on there because, I can't remember anybody missing weight by that much. I remember, oh, bloody hell, Randy Caballero missed weight by quite a considerable amount against Lee Haskins. And again, that was on a Golden Boy show as well. And
Ozzy,
again,
you're forgetting about Hayden H. Bomb Wright, who missed weight by 52 pounds.
Yeah, I remember that. 52 pounds. I mean, what are these guys doing? 52 pounds. But no, 12. And do you know what? It's look, it was an abomination of a fight anyway. Rosardo's no business being up at 175 as it is. He's a glorified punch bag, and it would have just been a sustained beating for him. That's saying he doesn't deserve that. He spent money on this camp. He spent time. He's trained all to get to weigh-in day, and for his opponent, to come in 12 pounds over. It's a big blow for Ramirez, really. A big blow. What does he do off the back of this now? Can he be trusted? The Golden Boy want to put more time and effort into
Oscar
him.
had the gall to say that Badu Jack just picked up a cruiserweight title. Maybe that'll be on the table for him. And what the fuck? He just missed weight after, and then the fight before he loses badly, and he thinks and he should walk into a title fight. It's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. But you know what? It could happen, Oz. The sport is that fucked up. It could happen.
It is, yeah. And look, I think Badu Jack will just go to the highest bidder now. Basically, whoever pays him the most, he'll do that. But can we even guarantee Ramirez is going to make weight in that? He'll probably see it as an opportunity to pile the weight on even more, and he might come in at heavyweight rather than cruiserweight. But no, it was a really bizarre one. And I'm pretty sure as that fight was camped, the Jojo Diaz fight, Diaz also missed weight as well initially by about 2 pounds. Fortunately, obviously, a couple of pounds in reality isn't that much. And I think Diaz did come in on weight at after a couple of hours. But again, it would have been an absolute, shit show for De La Hoya. And look, it's not his fault either. You've got to feel for the promoter in that instance that, again, they're investing in that card. It's not just the main event. They've sold tickets. They've got a lot of expenses going out. And then you've just got a main event fighter, your fighter as well, who's just got complete disregard for everybody else in that room, his own team, himself, the promoter, his opponent. And again, I just don't know what to say, anything else really. It's just mad. It is mad. And, again, can he be trusted coming back? Really? Can you say that in his next fight he will be on weight? Even if it's just, for a random 10-rounder, is it a guarantee that he's going to get in, coming at, say, an agreed weight of 180 pounds or 183 pounds, 182? Probably not.
Yeah, it was a crappy. But that said, last week I told you guys that I thought this could be a decent fight, despite what the odds said, with Yesta paying about 5-1. But he ended up taking a unanimous decision against Jojo Diaz in a really entertaining fight with fucked up scorecards. Cards of 91 and 99-91 and 98-92 to Yesta, and 97-93 for Jojo Diaz, all over the fucking place. Much like the Asparov Glanton fight, I thought this was, a 96-94 either way, leaning towards Yesta. I thought the right guy won, but overall, a very entertaining fight, Steve. And you had mentioned as we were going over this initially that, yeah, if Yester would let his hands go, he could be live. And damned if he didn't. That's the most punches I've seen him throw in a fight in 7-8 years. Good entertaining scrap. And I thought he earned it. The judges' craziness notwithstanding.
Yeah, and Diaz as well is actually in mostly entertaining fights, which is kind of strange because when on the way up, he was a really boring fighter, quite negative. But since he's hit that kind of championship level, he's actually quite an exciting fighter. And it's hard to root for him because he's a bit of a fiddler, and he's got his big fat dad in the corner usually. I'm not sure if he was even there yesterday or not. He was a bit entertaining, dropping F-bombs, taught himself the training wares in his garage and all. But Diaz, because he's so immobile and also struggles with weight himself, he tends to stand now and trade with guys, and he has a bit of a decent beard on him. He can cut at times, but yeah, guess to let the shots go. Diaz looked a little bit sluggish at times. I remember Masito Gesta, they were talking about him being a Ryan Garcia opponent ahead of Gervonta Davis. You know, the way Davis fought Hector Garcia. There was actually talk about Ryan fighting Gesta, which I think would have been a nice little kind of southpaw tune-up in advance of Davis. It didn't work out in the end. They put him in against Diaz. He's not great, but he just used his strength, his activity to kind of overwork Diaz. Diaz is a decent boxer, definitely a loose cannon. But once he lets his shots go, he's in entertaining fights. And all in all, the fiasco in the main event aside, it was another decent little card from Golden Boy. Some well-matched fights, as we'll no doubt get to. Ramirez is clearly a big, massive weight bully, isn't he? They were saying that he possibly got the fight a week off. He thought it was next week. And if he's trawling around the sort of stone off the weight with a week to go, it just goes to show he's just a complete weight bully, isn't he? Who knows what he's doing to cut that weight down? Absolutely illegal method, you would imagine, just to get on weight as best as he can by that last ounce to then completely bully people. Wasn't it against Bivol? He came in like 20 pounds the next day put on or something that just doesn't even make sense. Like you can't even believe
insane.
it's true. Huh?
It was insane. He was
it was something that you wouldn't even believe, like 18, 19 pounds.
like what Chavez Jr. was doing when he was actually making weight in his career.
Yeah, he's just weight bullying people. I don't know why he's still trying to get down to 175. They said that on the telecast as well, and I agree with them. Why would he not just move up to cruiserweight? He's had a strange career. He's had a lot of shit fights. I know he's never missed weight before, and he's 44, 45 occasions, but this fight shouldn't have been taking place anyway. And it was dangerous too. Rosado's a career, middleweight? He's not a big guy. He's been in with some heavy punches in his time, but if Ramirez had made the weight and knowing all these techniques, or say there'd come some kind of, I mean, you can't really come to a catchweight agreement. I'm sure Rosado would have fought him if they'd have said, right, we'll fight you to catchweight or something. Just absolutely dangerous. He could end up getting hurt, Rosado, considering all the shots he's took over to the head over these years. And yeah, that was an L for Ramirez especially. But all in all, Oscar put on a good show to make up for it, to kind of save the day.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Zurdo move up to cruiserweight, and I actually think, he hasn't fought since he fought Tervel Pulev, but I'd like to see maybe Zurdo against Sergey Kovalev. If Sergey Kovalev's got one more run in him, that's not a bad fight at all, I don't think. So yeah, that fight was exceptional. I enjoyed that one.
Sorry, is that true? Where they said that he thinks he got the fight a week out and his timings were wrong.
Somebody suggested that. I don't know whether that's the official narrative or whether it's somebody guessing or something. But I heard that. Yeah.
Who's Zurdo or Turdo? Sorry.
That is mad. I mean, what the hell? What's his trainer doing? His manager, himself. I mean, God. He didn't really take a sustained beating against Bivol, but if he's getting his fight dates mixed up by a week, then maybe we don't know. Maybe he's unearthed something else there, because that's crazy if he's completely misunderstood when he's boxing and when he's not. Because it would make sense, because a lot of fighters do shed a lot of weight in fight week. Despite the techniques now from where you don't need to do that, some fighters have just been brought up with going in heavy into fight week, and then, I've known some fighters take off 6 pounds the night before. It's crazy, really, when you think about it. Trying to take off 6 pounds the night before, doing all sorts. And again, it would make sense, but in this day and age, it's just mad if that is true. To be a week out on your fight dates, and if that is the case, no wonder he was so far over. And even in 2 hours, the fact that he was able to take off 5 pounds, it's clearly very hydrating. It probably is a bit of water weight, but 12 pounds worth of water weight is some going.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. Did you happen to see the Yesta against Diaz fight, Oz?
I didn't know. No, I've been out and about today, so I'm going to catch up on that. But yeah, well done. You did call that. Again, I said, earlier today that the red flags were were alarming during the week when you hear all the stories about Diaz. And again, he's another one where if he was disciplined at his weight, he'd actually be boxing at lightweight.
He'd
Not
be 130 pounds. There's no reason.
Yeah,
He should be
super
130
heavy.
pounds. He's not made that
Yeah.
weight for about 3 years. And consider how he's fighting these days as well. He's like maybe 1 or 2 fights for me officially washed, man, because he's just not taking it seriously enough. And you say all the outside problems, all the distractions, all the alcohol, the weight issues.
Yeah,
it's coming to a head at some point, and it's not going to end good.
Well, you know what I think might happen is I think looking at that card there and what's going on is Oscar had this crazy idea that one of these guys could be on the tank against Ryan Garcia card. I think that's too much of a turnaround, but I honestly think that Oscar Duarte against Jojo Diaz could happen. And I know you guys, I don't know how much Steve or Andy, you might have caught this one, but Duarte taking out Alex Martin, first guy to stop him in the 8th round. This Duarte, Steve, 135-pounder, good pressure fighter, and he could him against Diaz could be a really fun fight, but he could be the guy who stops Jojo.
Possibly. I liked that Zapata Jojo fought last time. I was kind of flagging by this point. It was getting late in the day, so I did see this fight in the background, but I was peeling some spuds. Martin's a bit of a runner, isn't he? I know he fought Michael McKinson before when he stepped in at short notice, and he was all over the place, but Duarte was definitely starting to close him down. A couple of low blows, very hard to catch Martin, so I was only watching it in the background, so I can't really make that too much of a comment. I did see the other 2 fights, Calliope with all the names against Perez, and especially Tudor against Kato Kane. I enjoyed that one, but I wasn't paying full attention to Duarte, so I'll have to take your superior knowledge on that one, Matthew.
Man, the scorecards in the Eric Tudor against Damani Kato Kane fight, those were pretty goofy.
Yeah, they were poor cards. It was a really nice, well-matched fight. Both guys 7-0 coming in. Kato Kane, a bit of a pound Lando, Shaki Foster, switching stances, pretty good fighter. I really like the look of Tudor, actually. He didn't look like much of a fighter, a bit of a Great White Hope vibe about him, but he's 21 years of age, put his shots together really nicely, got the measure of Kato Kane, got cut on the forehead, but that just spurred him on. He really started ripping the shots, and he closed Kato Kane's left eye up as well. I think one of the commentators said it best. Oh, I didn't realise Dr. Lou Moret was on the scorecards whenever that 80-72 came in, which did no justice to Kato Kane's efforts whatsoever. But Tudor definitely signed with Golden Boy Promotions. They've seen something in him. I really like the look of him. I think he could definitely become one to watch. 8-0 now from Florida with 6 knockouts. Definitely something to work with. They said he looked a bit like Gatti, but I thought he stood off and boxed a lot more than Gatti would have done, especially in the early part of his career. So, yeah, one to watch Tudor. What did you think of him?
I thought he was a really good fighter. I think he won the fight, but the scorecards were unfair. But I agreed with Sergio Mora. The way he throws that right hand, just with no hesitation whatsoever, just straight as a die, chin to chin. That right hand could be a freaking weapon. That's a hell of a shot, especially against the southpaw, because that'll catch you real quick.
I think he can punch. I think Kato Kane has a good chin and good recovery powers. I think against lesser opposition, you'll see Tudor knocking people out. I think he can dig.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that was only in an 8-round fight. If he's a 10-round, 12-round fighter and he keeps that going that way, it might be even tougher for guys to last with him. Speaking of people who can't last without a break in the middle, Rappin' Rob Kelly back here after his brief sabbatical in the middle of the podcast. We just wrapped up the week's action. Why don't you finish off with anything else that you saw, Rob, and we will move on.
How's me sound now? The boys were giving out about the sound or something. Your sound was fucked up as well. So I don't know what was going on, but
you're groovy.
Yeah, no, there's nothing else but fucking really compelling about the week's action. Is there? Diaz let me down, the little fatty, but it wasn't on the prediction league, so it doesn't matter. Am I still winning the prediction league? That's really what I'm just tuning in for here. What's the lowdown? Oh, sound is gone.
Matt, is he winning the prediction league or what?
Sorry about that. I thought Rob was talking for more than 30 seconds. I thought I could go and get a toothpick and you guys would still be going there. Jesus Christ.
What are you in the fucking Jokes of Hazard? What are you on about?
No, Jesus, God, man. Give me a few more bars, Rob. Jesus, fuck. Killing me.
Yeah, no, I did. I just said the Diaz fight didn't cost me anything in the prediction league. I don't think. I'm just really trying to. That's all I'm interested in now, baby. It's the freaking prediction league or nothing.
Well,
Forget the
no,
fucking week's action.
you know, actually, you should be thanking Oz for getting Brown and against Big Baby Miller in there, because that helped you out. Because had I been not a dick and just kept the Diaz versus Yesta fight in there instead of adding that in there, I would have been the only one that got points. Instead, you guys copying my Miller stoppage pick after thinking you would go the distance, you dumb bastards, and Oz being the only one that picked Brown, all of us picking Glanton. You now have a 4-point lead over Oz in the prediction league, Steve. And there's Rob, and there's 2 weeks left. And we'll get to those fights later on that we're going to be talking about. Both are going to be from the pay-per-view coming up Saturday. Yeah, it's a couple of good fights there. There's some decent fights on that card. I don't think we're getting robbed on that one. What's killing me is having 3 pay-per-views within 6 weeks of each other. That's a real motherfucker.
It's not killing me and Rob, that's for sure.
You know, I keep the sport going, and you guys ride the coattails. You know, it's killing me financially.
Yeah,
you
and Dave Lee single-handedly keeping the sport of boxing going by buying every viable product in the sport.
We have to do something. It's just sometimes, Oz, a person just feels called to duty, and that's where I think we are here. Some people are just willing to let the sport die, and some of us stand up and say, no, we won't let that happen on our watch.
Thank you, Matter. Doing the Lord's work.
You're welcome. Let's see here. Doesn't look like we have any questions, but it looks like we have a comment here from Marcus Bellinger. Oh, let's see here. See here. Hey, Steve, hope you and the rest of the lads are well. We'll send in my predictions for the April 8th Japanese show in a couple of weeks. And 2 obvious Belgian of the Week nominations for Gilberto Ramirez and Broner joining up with Don King. I think I emailed you at the time when Hearn left Sky for Dazn, basically saying it'd be extremely difficult for him without the Sky Sports machine. And given the damning comments from Watsy this week, I think it's proving to be the case. We'll be interested to hear what you all think and looking forward to the fight of the week. Hearn versus Jordan on Tuesday. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Marcus. Yeah, some weird things going on there. Did I hear correctly that DAZN is now going to be a cable channel available in the Sky package? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. But it's weird the way they were billing it. So essentially, if you were previously a subscriber or a current subscriber but didn't pay 20 quid a month, so if you bought the saver plan or your subscription in full, you would not have qualified for their TV channel that is going to launch on Sky. It's not part of the Sky package. So if you subscribe to Sky, you would need to pay additional, like you would to Sky Sports, BT, any other, TV channels that require basically behind a paywall. The only people that would qualify for it are the ones that pay £20 a month. I think that was the way it was working. However, there was a complete uproar to it because DAZN played a big thing on loyalty, and essentially they were doing a complete opposite to however many of their subscribers, and now they are reviewing it in the hope that basically it will be open to everybody who currently has a running subscription with them, and that is on TV rather than that will be the channel that will be available to everybody. However, they've still also said that the best footage will be available via the app and not via the channel. So I don't know if the channel is going to be one of these, like still standard definition ones or basic HD.
Well, they can only have one thing going at a time on the channel too, whereas on the app, they got boxing going at the same time as women's soccer and darts. So,
do you know? I would assume that the channel is being launched and when it's got live events on such as. Because it will be different. So for UK only, though, they've not really got any rights to anything that anybody cares about aside from, Matchroom's boxing. And even then, I'm not sure how many people actually care about that at the moment. But in terms of everything else, like, they could have, potentially on the app, it could be showing La Liga, but they've not got the rights to La Liga in the UK, I don't think. And likewise, if they showed the Premier League. They might have that in Germany or in another country.
You know,
But they don't have
other than DAZN not having the men's Premier League stateside, like stateside DAZN is a UK sports fan's paradise. It is a seriously good channel for y'all's taste in sports. It just so happens for Americans, we're not gonna fucking watch darts and snooker. It's not gonna fucking happen.
See as well, actually, see as part of the advertisement, like for the zone, like part of a subscription, and they talk about like free women's football, or soccer as you call it, Matty. Yeah, I was going through YouTube the other night there, actually, and they've actually got the Women's Champions League free to air streaming on YouTube. Yeah, here they are, they're advertising it, for a subscription to try and draw you in to get a DAZN subscription. We'll be passing that one, Ozzy. Or you will be, anyway.
Oh, massively, mate. I mean, the one thing it might help is that the Fire Stick will just have access to a couple more channels. So, yeah, won't be turning that down. But I think a big thing, going back to the original email, is that, Will Hearn struggled without the Sky hype train. And I completely agree. I really do think, he's up against it. I also think he's trying to spin too many plates. I think he got excited, seeing the big $1 billion check. He's, expanded in America. Also tried to do shows in Spain, Italy. He's going to other countries as well. And I just don't think he's got the stable and the depth to put on the quality of shows. And I think basically, he's sacked off doing shows in Italy and Spain. That was what a 12, 18-month trial. Didn't really work out. Had some decent fights, in all honesty. But again, who really cares about them the majority of the time? His US shows, I would say he's had more better US shows than anything else in comparison to his UK stuff. And I think his UK stuff has been struggling for a while now. And I would always say that what Matchroom have always been able to do is have a core, fans in attendance from where their arenas wouldn't necessarily always look completely empty. But I think the last couple of shows, Newcastle and Liverpool, I think you could combine those crowds together and it still wouldn't have filled the Echo or the Newcastle Arena at the weekend. So that says it all. So I think he is struggling. Sky's a huge platform with, various outlets. And ultimately now he's relying on an app. And what they can do is keep saying, look at people use apps all the time on the phone and this and that and this and that. But I tell you what, I couldn't tell you, I don't watch a lot of stuff on my phone or on my TV via apps. Netflix are losing subscribers left, right, and centre. So it costs an absolute fortune, and ultimately Matchroom don't care because it's other people's money. But eventually, I think this plug will get pulled, and they're going to be left snookered because that the app will no longer exist, and they can keep trying, they can keep bigging it up. They're not going to come out and say, "Yeah, this is a problem for us." They're going to try and spin the narrative. They're rolling out things from where the TV channel should allow, pubs at least to show it and things like that. Because half the time when they have had the bigger fights on, you can't watch it in the pub. And that was something, again, a massive market that they did rely on. And going to the app, whether they thought about that or not, it doesn't allow them to tap into that market.
Yeah, it's the rough thing right now, Andy, is Eddie just probably doesn't know what way to look. I mean, at the same time, he's worrying about Sky's outlets while worrying about Sky's inlets. It must be very difficult. Very difficult.
Yeah, it was one country that Oz forgot to mention was Australia. Maybe that's why he took his eye off the ball, Oz. Because he looked to the sky and it started fucking raining pennies for heaven. I don't know, but.
I don't know how I forgot about that, actually.
To be fair, actually, I seen
the raining pennies or was it golden showers? Only they know.
I seen something on Twitter the other day actually about their balance sheet. So they seem to be okay for cash and that. And as Ozzy mentioned there about the last two shows being poorly attended, and obviously they're trying to kind of like dim the lights so you don't see it as much. It'd be better going back to like the leisure centre days actually, to be fair than that, But it would be a massive crash on the ego if he did. It's just no cutting the mustard, to be fair. For all the money that he's got and to be, as he classes himself, the A-star promoter in the UK at the minute, or has been over the last few years, certainly kind of drying up a little bit. You say the Italian adventures have kind of died away. Spain, America's not really kind of going as much as what it used to.
Well, and Daniel Ford Lauther puts up a good point here. I mean, just regarding like what way is he steering these guys? I mean, after we saw on Thursday, he says Buatsi was sported by Eddie, then like a Coley when a challenge was offered, 1 million to face Bivol. He only had to look decent, do better than Canelo, but ducked it. And Pascal, who I know he'd beat, Daniel says. I mean, yeah, Andy. I mean, the fact that he swerved Pascal and I mean, he fucking Buatsi probably would have knocked Pascal out. I mean, I saw the German give him a little trouble to the body, and he never focused there. He missed out on a golden chance to have a good scalp on his resume. Talk about a business boner by Hearn on this one. It just bad advice. There's, he's out of touch a little bit too.
I don't know if Eddie's actually kind of fully involved, because I think was Boatsino managed by Joshua's company. So I really don't know.
Not anymore.
No,
Not
but
anymore.
It was at that point, though, was he not, mate?
He was, yeah. Because do you not remember the Buatsi Pascal fight was going to be promoted by Queensbury, and Frank Warren did a deal with Mandela for the first bit.
That's right.
And then they decided they opted to pull out because apparently Buatsi didn't sign up to the drug testing that Matchroom and Buatsi wanted to, even though DeBella Pascal provided the letters saying we did. So it was all a complete mess. But I agree with you, Matt. It would have been a big name on his record, arguably probably a career best win, and I think he would have stopped him. But this cautious approach is doing him no favors. And again, he's gone back to Sky, and Sky just cherry picking from that Dazn stable at the moment, aren't they? Even though it's firstly, Liam Smith made the jump, Lawrence Okole's done that, now Buatsi. It's a case of who's next.
Eubank went back as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Chris Eubank did. I'm trying to think of any others that potentially who've done it recently. But again,
Okole.
Okole. Yeah, he's going to be the big net. Chris Billam Smith is another one. Who left. Was on Dazn, but now he's a figurehead on Sky. He's headlining shows on there. So again, it used to be when Matchroom were with Sky and first came to the fore, they pretty much destroyed Warren's stable and took all sorts of fighters over there. And now you're kind of seeing roles reversed, and with Dazn, fighters hidden on an app. It's clearly playing a point. Fighters talk. They're not fake. And, people don't like it. And, you've had a few come out there saying, I don't want to box on an app that, when people want to watch it, they've got to enter payment details every time, and they've got to download something. You just want to, just to get involved. I know, he was made an offer to sign Bivol. And I've seen Hearn get some criticism for this, that, he was offered, Buatsi was offered £1 million, but he wanted basically to get options on Buatsi, fight Bivol, and then you get 2 fights after it as well. Seen criticism of that. I think, well, no, that's obvious. That's what promoters do. He's not going to pay Buatsi £1 million, and then if he wins, he's going to have no options on him. So I completely understand that. But things have clearly gone on behind the scenes because for a guy who turned over with him, he was always incredibly reluctant, to ultimately to stay on with him. He was doing punditry work on BT. I know BT made a big play to try and bring him over as well. They offered him good money. I just think Sky basically topped it, but basically topped everybody. I think Matchroom did match certain aspects, but I think to match everything, to match as per the contract, if there's say 10 bullet points, you've got to match all 10, and that's something they didn't do. But yeah, it's a precarious situation for Buatsi now. I don't know what he's going to do. They're talking about Dan Aziz fight. That's if he wants to box, but. At the moment, he's turned down Bivol, and he turned down a big money fight with Anthony Yard as well, which I think personally probably would have been a BT pay-per-view. I don't know if that's not fact, but I think, a fight of that magnitude, it probably would have been that.
Yeah, it is all of a shit show. Andy, you're unmuted. Is there something you wanted to say before we move on?
No, mate. No, sorry. I was.
Oh, no. Okay. No, I just thought you were ready to pull the trigger there. No worries. I'd like to thank the people that have wandered into the chat today. Let's see here. We got CHR, Jim McDonald, Boxing 2.0, Finger of Foxes Extraordinary, Yummy Yappy, Matt Butters, M. Lithgow. Let's see here. Ben Russell is in there. The good Dr. FMG, MB, Michael Thompson, Matt Holmes, David Mustard, Big A, Daniel Ford Lather, Liam Davis. Let's try to find one more in there as well. And Northern Monkey. All right, thank you for everyone.
Daniel Ford Lowther. It's a lovely name, that, isn't it, Matty? It's like a very officious name, I feel.
He sounds like somebody who owns land.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great bunch there. And also, we got a great bunch in the Patreon group. Make sure to wander on in there because we will be starting a new prediction league in the Nutters group starting in April. The last picks of this season are going to be the fights that are going to be occurring on April 1st. So anybody that's not in there, you jump on into the Patreon. Steve will get you over into the WhatsApp group, and you can join in on the fun with all of us. Got a nice pot going in on there for the winner. It's a good time in the Nutters group. They're picking generally the same fights as we are every week and doing a pretty damn good job. I think the leader is nearing 50 points. A few of them had the better sense, Steve, to go look at the deeper details of the card going on in Dubai. And they're like, lots of Russian fighters and the promoter's Russian here. Seems like there might be a bent. Is an American going to win on any of the cards at this point in time? We didn't think that deeply. Damn us, all of us picking Glanton.
Unrivaled analysis. They need to be on the Nutters calls, man, showing us how it's done, Matty. Quite right.
Yeah, we're not on top of this. You know, that moment when geopolitics and boxing intersected and I was there to miss it. I personally, I feel very worthless at this time, Steve. That was my time to shine, and I
No,
fucked
you're
up
right.
bigly.
Absolutely right, Matty. You are pretty worthless.
Fuck.
No wonder I fucking jumped off. I jumped back on. He's on about geopolitics again. Fuck off, will you?
We're talking about the Asperov fight, you fucking cunt.
Can't wait to slip a geopolitics in.
Yeah, I bet you can't wait to slip a lot of stuff in, Rob. Let's see here. We got some fights going on next week. Let's start out with this one. Andy, you wanted this one in the prediction league, and I'm like, no. Montreal, Canada, going to be on ESPN Plus stateside Thursday. We're going to have that headline by Christian and Billy versus Carlos Gondora. That's over 10 rounds at 168. Simon Keane and the ghost of Eric Molina, also over 10 rounds. That's optimistic. Mary Spencer trying to come back after a loss against Adriana Dos Santos Araujo over 8 rounds at 154. And Steve Claggett always seems to be on these Canadian cards. He's going to be in there against Rafael Guzman Lugo. So what are you thinking on this one there, Andy? I just couldn't see it being that interesting because I remember Gongora really letting us down. What was that against Richards? He came into that fight a favorite and just got horribly outboxed, seemed tremendously lethargic. I have a hard time buying him against this big punching him Billy.
Yeah, regards to Gongora in his last fight, mate, I think word was he was late into the country, I suppose. I think that was the word at least. So maybe a bit of kind of jet lag coming down for altitude and that as well. He is for Ecuador, so maybe it played a part. I don't know, mate. But I agree with you. He was disappointing in that fight, to be fair, because he kind of really did build up a good B side at least in his last 2 fights. The reason I brought this up is just because he's got a good amateur background. He has had his last 3 or 4 fights at least, not so much guys in terms of prime, but like guys like Ronald Ellis and Najib Mohammadi and DeAndre Ware have been in making a good company. I think Mohammadi's been in with Kovalev and all those guys. Ellis has been in with, I think, Benavidez possibly. Von Alexander, obviously, we know what he's at this point in his career. And obviously, he's been out of prison a number of years now, and he's trying to catch up. He's just one of those kind of gatekeeper journeyman type fighters. And obviously, he's proven to be, as I say, a good B side, a Campillo basically. Good ability. Will probably need to put on the heat to try and get it maybe kind of competitive as such on the scorecards. And he has showed that that he can at least box down the stretch. He has got a good engine, and he can maybe stop a fighter late. But I agree with you, he was disappointing in his last fight. So hopefully it's just a blip and he comes back good, because I think he has got ability, and I think he's a guy who could, under right circumstances, at least pick up a belt. But this will be a good test as well for both guys, and Billy as well. I think this would be a very good win if he gets it. Be even more impressive if he actually stops him as well. So it's one fight I think I might be kind of keep an eye on. I wasn't so much over enamoured by the Pascal card last week, but I might keep a wee eye on this one for next Thursday. I think that might be a decent enough scrap, to be fair.
Andy's right, Matty. I'll just jump in very quickly there. I like the look of him, Billy. He's got a good crowd behind him. He's stopping guys. He's looking fast and powerful. If he stops Gongora, as Andy says, that'll be a decent statement, because we need to see from Gongora, was the Akhmedov fight the exception or the rule? Don't forget, he was losing really wide on those cards before he kind of outlasted Akhmedov, got rid of him in the last round. Was that a bit of a blip, just a one-off, or is Gongora a really good fighter? You know,
kind of the Uzkatagi thing where you live off of one performance for fucking ever.
Body of evidence time now. It'd be really interesting next week if when Billy stops him, massive statement. Well, not a massive statement. That's a bit of a stupid thing to say, but a real good, solid statement. He's pushing towards world level now. Let's see what he can do. Looking forward to this fight. Also, I was toiling over the name of the debutant I was trying to tell you about last week. Wilkins Matau is his name. He's actually on the undercard, so they're getting him out nice and fast again. So that's good to see.
Excellent. Always good to see that. And you know, Steve, we complain a lot in boxing about, you know, sometimes not having a lot to watch, but Saturday is going to be very interesting. You guys might want to sleep till noon and see what happens, because let's break down what's going to happen in our day. So we're going to
loads of shit on next week apparently.
So yeah, we're going to start off our Saturday from Manchester. Gonna have Jack Catterall coming back, currently against TBA on the schedule I'm looking about. Fraser Clark against Rydell Booker, who has been around for about 20 years, has been in against Otto Wallin, our good friend, recently. Then headlined between with Lawrence Okoli against David Light, who was in that close fight against Brandon Glanton over 12 rounds, again, optimistically, for the WBO Cruiserweight title. This is a really interesting fight coming up, Rob. Okoli's been making some changes in the corner. But you got to think, you know, with the way that Glanton kind of walked down Light late, even if this young man is able to hang for 7 or 8 rounds, you got to take the big guy against him over him, just wearing this guy down late, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm interested to see the change of style, or if there is any change of style, and there's less clinching and more kind of building off the jab and shooting straight shots. There's obviously the catch and shoot style as well that Sugar Hill teaches. So it's interesting to see is Okoli going to be able to implement any of that. I think he's a good fighter. Like, I think we just haven't seen the best of him. Probably hasn't had the best dance partner, but I'd expect him to come through. Yeah, I'd expect him to come through pretty easy.
Here, I've just noticed that fucking Eric Molina's on that Canada card next week.
I said that.
I said that.
I know. You bastards don't pay any attention at all. Andy, fucking an hour and a half ago. Hey, what about Billy against Gongora for the prediction league? I already gave you the fights.
But Matt, you were talking geopolitics at the time. I tuned out or I zoned out.
I wasn't talking. Yeah, Jesus fucking.
Matty Kissinger over here. I agree with you, Matty. Ignore the haters.
It's just so tough. You know, you're really only as strong as your weakest link, Steve. And pick one. Jesus Christ, it's killing us here.
Is that a dig at me?
No. You're very strong. You're very strong. It's you and me at the top, and then, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It's tough, man. I tell you, they don't.
What's he talking about now?
I don't know, mate.
I'm talking shit about you, Rob. That's all. Go back. go back to picking your nose. Anyway, so also on that card, Fraser Clark against Rydell Booker. I think that's interesting enough. But again, Oz, I think the big interesting thing, seeing how Okoli is under Sugar Hill, he's got a lot of skills. He's a big, powerful man. You know, I still would like to see a fight between him and Reactfor. Is there anything you're looking for in this fight? I mean, it is a mandatory. We can't be too grumpy about the opponent.
David Light shite, man.
Yeah, so but essentially, I don't want to see more than 3 rounds. I think this is a great opportunity for Okoli. You know, it's his first fight on Sky. It's fair to say that people have probably got mixed reviews on him. I thought McGuigan was doing a very good job with him. The reason they've split is because Coley's moved to, I think, Dubai now or something like that. So McGuigan couldn't train him. He wasn't willing to up sticks and move out there, so that's understandable. He's now with Sugar Hill. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how long he's been with Hill in terms of has he had time to implement a style, but one thing Sugar Hill won't be encouraging is all this holding and things like that. So I think this is a perfect opponent for a Coley. This light is incredibly limited. His best win was probably that Brandon Glanton or something like that. And I think, ultimately there's levels to this. And regardless of what we think of a Coley in terms of a style, he's arguably the best cruiserweight in the world. And I think he's going to bang David Light. Basically, it's going to be lights out and pretty fast. I'd say a couple of rounds tops.
Yeah, I think that Light's going to be able to get to the second half of the fight. That's my hunch. I'm not disputing the winner, but I think that Light's going to be able to get to the second half. But we shall see on that one. It'll be interesting to see Catterall coming back too. You talk about a guy.
I don't think he's boxing.
No, he's off that card.
Is he now?
Yeah, but I don't know why. I've not seen. I saw him yesterday. Actually, I completely forgot. But yeah, I'm not sure why.
He's got to be in a little bit of a mental fuck, man. I mean, he's been getting jerked around for a fucking year straight. That'll piss a guy off.
I'm not sure when it was pulled, but he looked like basically he looked like a fighter going into not far off fight week. Basically, he was incredibly lean. Like not a fighter who found out 4 weeks ago and was basically off the diet as such, and not in the gym. So unless something is in the offing from where it's a much bigger fight and you weren't going to run the risk of any cuts or hand injuries or anything like that, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it was he could do with a run out as well, because it's again his career has been so frustrating in terms of inactivity. He went for a stage of boxing probably 2 or 3 times a year, and that was good. And then again, it's just essentially since he left Frank Warren, he's kind of bobbed around from card to card, and it's every 12 months. And he sat on the opportunity, got his Taylor fight, which again waited over 12 months for. And again, it's just another 12, 13, 14 months of inactivity for him. And he's a guy who lives in the gym. It's not as if, he's bloomed up and had to, lose a load of weight. But still, though, you want to keep your tools sharp, and there's only so much sparring you can do. So I'm not 100% sure why he's not on this card, but it is a shame. And I think the rest of the card's a bit iffy, really. It's a bit of an odd one, just, we'll just get on the phone to the global matchmaker and try and get anybody. But Michael Gomez Jr. is boxing on this card against Levi Giles. That's a really good fight. I'm not sure. I think it might be for the area title, or if not English. Yeah, vacant English super feather. Levi Giles is one of Carl Greaves' lads. So yeah, great opportunity for him. Big platform. Big fan of that fight. Fraser Clark. You would say it's a step up. Not much of a step up, but from what Clark has been involved with previously, it is. It's arguably his career, the most difficult fight in his pro career. And then there's a lot of prospects on the undercard. Is Aaron McKenna from your neck of the woods, Steve? Is he that big hitter? Can he bang a little bit as well? He's not bad, I think.
He's one of mixed fighters, isn't he? He was based over in the States, wasn't he, with Oscar originally? I know. I think he's back.
Right. I didn't know that.
He's back on the Channel 5 shows, and now he's followed Mick over to Sky. Yeah, he's decent, McKenna.
And Rhys Edwards is another good one on the undercard. He's a Welsh lad. I've seen him box a few times on the small old stuff. Not the biggest of punchers, but he's incredibly talented. Will win a British title, no problem. Probably push onto European level. I like him. So yeah, and then you've got Shaquille Thompson. He used to be on BT, I think, and then just vanished from had a couple of years out. So yeah, I mean, bit of an odd card, really. You think with it being a Coley's first fight back, they'd try and big the card up, get something about it, but not really heard much advertisement, excitement around it, given they've made this massive effort to get a Coley on the channel, and then You know, until you mentioned it, I completely forgot this card was happening next weekend.
Well, that's not good. Hopefully the ticket sales are going better.
They should put that
than
on the
they are for
poster,
the
shouldn't they?
AJ fight. Yes, this fight is happening. But God. So, anyways, when that card is finished, you can bounce over to ESPN, who is going to be having a card at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And you guys, your time still hasn't changed yet. That's on Sunday, so that'll be interesting. And you'll be able to catch Jose Ramirez against Richard Comey over Steve. It says 12 rounds. Over 12 rounds at junior welterweight, and also Sanisa Estrada against Tina Ruprecht in a unification at 105 pounds. Looking forward to Sanisa's return. She's a very sharp fighter. But I'll tell you what, Andy, I got a funky feeling about the Ramirez-Comey fight. Ramirez turning down some better fights because he didn't like the money. And you know, Comey, say what you will about him, but I've never seen him phone it in a fight. He's there to fight. He can punch. I think Ramirez, if he's thinking that he's just going to waltz into this fight, Andy, I think he's in for a rude awakening. I think Comey's live, even though he's a big underdog.
To be honest, mate, I actually forgot this fight was actually happening as well. I'm actually stunned as to how much stuff's actually on next week. Just across Friday and the Saturday. I see you got Jose Cepeda fighting as well next week.
Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I have.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, as for Ramirez as such, obviously he's got the Pedraza win coming off. I think Comey, did he not have a draw with him, or did he get beat?
That was a draw with Pedraza.
Aye, and he's not really been active as such as well. But you're right. I mean, he is a decent fighter. If you think if Ramirez is taking him lightly, he could come a cropper. But Ramirez is generally on point, isn't he? He's generally kind of very disciplined, professional fighter. The only person really kind of see him kind of like having problems with mainly was Josh Taylor. But yeah, I think he'll win this fight. I think he'll win it on points. You see, Comey will probably make it rough for him as well along the way. But I think Ramirez will stick to his box and he'll make his moments count as well. So yeah, I'll say Ramirez wins on points.
Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty fair guess there. But Steve, Joe Kennedy made a good point when I was chatting with him. He said that he kind of thinks that Comey is the last of the generation of, as you'd call, the teak tough African fighters. What do you think about that? He is a pretty rough son of a bitch, and guys like Ndongo, they're folding in like accordions.
Yeah, and Dongo's shit. We found that out pretty quickly once you stuck it on him. Yeah, the teak tough Ghanaian, those days are over now of the Azuma Nelson and Ike Corte and these fellas getting beaten up. You got the Duke Micas now, and what's the other, Prosper Ankara and Maxwell Iwuku, and these guys coming and folding over like a pack of cards for Commonwealth titles. Yeah, I'm not that fussed. Beyond Comey, he'll make it tough for Ramirez. You know what you're going to get with him. He'll overwork him, win on points, and I'm not really that fussed on this one, to be honest with you. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing Moratala if I can catch it on the undercard. But by that point, I might be all boxing out, man. I'm going to struggle to watch all this, I think, next Sunday. Mrs. Wellington might be throwing punches for the IBF Intercontinental title.
The notebook for next week.
By the end of Sunday, man. Okay.
Fucking hell. Honestly, you need the notebook and you need cliff notes and everything for fucking next week's pod, man. You'll not get the reviews finished until about fucking 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Exactly.
I might take next Sunday off too, Steve, so you never know it.
You do that.
So, yeah, that's a good one. And so say you're over stateside and you're like, damn it, I am just going to wait until some sick bastard puts up an illegal copy of the pay-per-view fight online. You're like, but what am I going to do until then? Well, you might just flip on over to Dazn from Guadalajara, Mexico, where you're going to see Rafael Espinosa against to be announced, Carlos Ocampo against to be announced, and Jose Cepeda against Niraj Gojat. There you go.
From India.
Who was once, he was once named India's most promising boxer. I don't know at what point that is, considering he started his career off 0-2-2, but he did get it together since then, losing it against a
Alias
fighter along the way.
He's alias.
The gangsta.
The gangster, baby.
You know, but
It's my alias as well.
Rob,
Coincidence.
Robin, I'll tell you what. You're not looking at this guy's box rec right now, my friend. But you got to think if Zepeda loses to the gangsta this Saturday, it's got to be over for Zepeda. As many great fights as he given us, he'll live in infamy for that war with Baranchik. If you can't pull this one off, I think it's time to ride off in the sun. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think probably Zepeda still have enough to get over the line. I think though he probably has one last night in him. It's hard. You think these sometimes you watch these guys and you think like the likes of Zepeda and like, all right, they get washed overnight, but then more often than not they just kind of fade out. Like don't they? They're still like even at a percentage of themselves still giving everything in the fight, still trying to go the distance and that. Like so, I think Zepeda probably come through another war here at some stage. But he's been valued to watch. That's what I will say about Zepeda. Win or lose, he's been valued to watch throughout his career. Like, whether he gets
He can punch a bit. He can punch a bit, Rob Conley.
Yeah, exactly. He's the kind of last of a dying breed, and like fighters like him, like you kind of have to appreciate them while they're here for what they are in terms of the skill set, in terms of everything else they bring. Because these days, the sport, man, anybody has any kind of a spotlight on them, they don't even fight. They're only fighting fucking twice a year, like. And shit's going to get worse with the economic situation. Or you're seeing lots of empty seats at these cards because fellas can't afford to fucking go shell out on pay-per-views and fucking, do you know what I mean? And go to events and that shit costs money. Like so, these kind of fellas who fight anybody and fucking keep popping up on cards and keep giving their all and all that. Like these days, anybody kind of shine. They only fight fucking twice a year. They set themselves up to fight twice a year, so they don't kind of get that kind of war-torn or shot-worn fighters anymore. Going forward, like not for me anyway.
Yeah, they the shelf the shelf life for fighters like Zepeda is short, but damn, it's fun while it lasts. It's you gotta love these action heroes. It's a good time, and regardless of what your viewing is going to entail over the weekend, that might just be worth snipping in there because. Zepeda, he never disappoints. I don't think I've ever seen him phone it in. I mean, I saw him get his shoulder was messed up. What was that one? Flanagan, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, you could see it actually pop out on his back.
Yeah,
yeah, that was a legit injury. And I mean, other than that, I mean, he's always given it. He's kind of like that perfect B-side during that time of the really good welterweights or junior welterweights where Taylor showed his class, but. The main event of the evening, we're going to be going over to Showtime pay-per-view. God knows you guys aren't paying for it. God knows I will.
BT card to cover, Matty.
I am not going to talk about the BT card. Do you want to talk about the BT card?
Ozzy would want to talk about it, I would imagine. I mean, there are a couple of good fights in there.
You said
it's a better card than that fucking Sky one we spoke about.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, massively. The main, I mean, I'm not sure what the main event is, but that Andrew Kane... Iron Up Baluta fight has just got a war written all over it.
I think Baluta's washed, man.
I'm not sure. No, I don't know really. I mean, Liam Davis, like, basically, he's the first. I'd say he's the first guy that has really given him a working over. Michael Conlon did not do that. He beat Brad Foster, he beat Oliver Joyce, TJ Dehoney, Carl Williams. I actually think Kane will stop him, which I think will be a statement. I think that will be a big win, but it's still a good. And if Kane is not up to it and he's not what we think he is, he will lose. Baluta is one of those that if you're not 100%, you will get beat against him. That saying, I think Kane will stop him. There's a big rematch on the undercard, Nathan Heaney against Jack Flatley. Ended in, unfortunate circumstances last time from where there was a clash of heads. And 4 rounds had gone, so Heaney got it on the cards. Spoke to Heaney a little bit. He's been doing a lot of sparring with Sergio Garcia, which I think really, impressive sparring, good preparation. I think Heaney will come through that, actually. I was big on Flatley in the first fight, and I'll be interested to see the price because Flatley was massively overpriced last time. I want to say he was around 6-1. And if he is at that price again, I will back that because it's wrong. It's simply wrong. I think Flatley should be more around 2s. At the biggest, I think anything over that, I've got to have a nibble at that as well. And then, Warren's bringing over Miguel Gonzalez, to box Jason Cunningham, former, German Anka opponent, Andrew Maloney. I think, we could potentially see an upset here if we dub that an upset. Cunningham is a guy that, I know what happened in that Zolani Tete fight. Tete's since proven to have popped for performance-enhancing drugs, but that was a brutal knockout, that. And what has Cunningham got left? It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know how much notice Gonzalez has got for this, but again, looking at the price aspect, I don't think the bookies will know much about him. So it's going to be interesting, to see what sort of price we can get. Because again, if Cunningham isn't, look, he's done incredibly well throughout his career. European champion, excellent achievement, but he is limited. And I think Gonzalez may, have the ability to get through that. And one thing he's not the biggest of punchers, Cunningham, either. So, again, you've got 3 decent fights there, and then a couple of others on the undercard. There's a lot of young prospects, but again, the one to watch will be Moses Ituma, or Itauma. Again, turned over on that. I think I forget what card it was at Wembley. Was it the Dubois card? No, the Better Be Yard. Sorry, Better Be Yard. It was, and he just banged out. Well, he barely punched that Marcel Bode, and he went down like a sack of spuds. So he got a 2-0 Argentinian coming over. I predict it'll be the same fashion. Again, it'll be an Itoma stoppage. But the good thing is that they're keeping him active. Again, if he goes through this guy, in a round, let's get him out again. Get him, 6 or 7 fights this year. He is only a kid. He looks like he's 30. I think he's 18 or something like that. So there is no rush with this guy whatsoever. If people are happy, to say with Johnny Fisher, bide the time with him, then this is the same. Yes, this guy's more talented in terms of an amateur background, but he is a baby. He's in his first year in terms of being able to box as a pro in the UK. So again, just keep him active, keep, slowly stepping up the levels, and basically keep him banging out people. Because you do that, you just grow an interest. People will want to watch you. So yeah, I think it's a solid card from BT. I'll probably watch this over the Sky one and just watch the Sky one back. There's certain fights I want to. I think bar the Okoli one, which I think will end quickly, there's not really much else bar the Gomez fight on that. There's the 3 main fights on this card, Cunningham, Heaney and Kane, I think have all got interest. And it's rare I say it as well, but there's a women's fight on there. Not a clue who the opponent is for Raven Chapman. She's called Linda Laura Lecker. She's from Peru. Not a clue who she is. No idea. But Raven Chapman is exciting to watch. She has stopped a couple of opponents. She's quite aggressive. She throws a lot of shots. And, I think she'd benefit from 3-minute rounds rather than 2. So, yeah, so she's back out as well, and I think she'll win. But it's quite exciting to watch. So, pretty solid card for BT. It'd be a good atmosphere as well. I think Heaney's done about 1,800 tickets in Telford. So, there'll certainly be an atmosphere.
Matty, I've just realised, actually, I recognise that name, Linda Laura Lecker, and I'm sure I've heard it before on WBA champion or serial killer that we played long ago. And in fact, she was the WBA super flyweight champion about 4 years ago. So indeed, that's where I'd heard the name of Linda Lecker.
Well, there you go. And she is stepping up. And God, you got to wonder, given the absence of Gabe, if one of those serial killers didn't catch up to him, Steve.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Gabe's just completely disappeared.
Yeah, and he was a big guy. It's tough for a big guy to disappear.
I know, 400 pounds and living in the basement. Who would have thought?
Well, we hope that you're okay and that you're not in somebody else's basement, Gabe.
Is that true? £400?
Who knows?
I was going to say he might have heard my rants about Big John and Co. So maybe he's just staying away for the pure shame.
I've considered it, Oz.
Every time he thinks about coming back, you've got me nailing Big John for eating a Chinese, and Gabe will be crying into his wild boar and ribs that he's hunting, other meat that he's hunted that
day. I'll take a chicken fried rice.
Yeah. Yeah, the deep fried chicken and gravy and mash and stuff like that. And as he cries into that, he has another spoonful of mash and bite full of chicken. Poor Gabe.
Anyhow, moving over to a pay-per-view card that I actually am fairly impressed with this lineup. We'll get to the main event. Mind your predictions on this one, gentlemen, because a couple of these are going to be in the league when we wrap it up. We have Chris Colbert versus Jose Valenzuela, the hard-punching Jose Valenzuela, the coming back after the loss to Hector Garcia. Chris Colbert been out of the ring for a while. It's going to be at lightweight. Cody Crowley against Abel Ramos at welterweight. Looking forward to that one. Jesus Ramos against Joey Spencer at 154 pounds. And then we'll get to the main event. Rob, which one of these undercard fights interest you the most?
Nothing. He's not here.
Oh, Jesus, when do you leave? All right, anyways. Andy, which one of these undercard fights interests you the most?
None of them might be fair.
Really? I think this is a good card,
Jesus Christ.
Just having a quick look here, actually.
You're like a 19th century Russian author. Fuck me.
That Colbert fight's a good one.
Fucking Tolstoy.
I don't rate Colbert though, to be fair, so maybe you're right. I don't know. Well, as I say,
Cody Crowley against Abel Ramos. That's a good fight, man. Ramos can punch. Crowley's had a couple of good W's in the last 18 months. I think that this is a damn decent fight, and I think it's going to be fairly close to 50-50 in the books, to be honest with you.
It's Ramos Spencer I'm looking forward to, but sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, on you go, mate.
No, Steve, you're actually excited about something. Bring some energy to the program.
Well, I'm not sure I can guarantee energy, but I am looking forward to Ramos Spencer, as I mentioned about 2 seconds ago there. Big puncher, Ramos, nice big unit, leans in a little bit. Had that good fight with Luke Santamaria last time as a winner of Brian Mendoza. That name rings a bell. I think he's featured on a Showtime card soon against somebody as well. He also beat that Vladimir Hernandez, who, if memory serves me correctly, defeated Julian Williams at some point recently. He's had a couple of big wins actually back to back. So he's putting his 19-0 record on the line against Joey Spencer. Also a bit of a puncher, same age as well, more of a boxer really. Looked good last time against Kevin Salgado. I thought he might struggle in that fight. Didn't, absolutely boxed his ears off.
Yeah, Salgado's a good fighter. He just walked him pretty much.
Yeah, really good fight actually. Kind of leaning towards Spencer maybe. Is it a 10 or a 12? It's a 10 rounder. 10. Yeah, that's a good one there. Colbert Valenzuela. Valenzuela was the one who got upset, wasn't he, against De Los Santos? Yep. He really fancied himself that he was going to get the tank fight at one point. Colbert, if Valenzuela can put it on Colbert, he showed against Garcia that he just goes into pure survival mode. So I'm not sure about that. And as for Ramos Crowley, I think if Crowley should be able to beat, I don't think Ramos will get stopped, but he should be able to outpoint him, and he'll be due a title shot soon.
Don't give it up yet, Steve.
I'm trying to show some enthusiasm here.
Yeah, I know. Don't give up your pick on that one yet, though. Because I think people are that's an interesting fight, and I like that one for Prediction League a lot. What do you think is closer to the 50-50 between Ramos and Spencer and Ramos and Crowley?
Ramos and Spencer, definitely. I think Crowley will beat Abel Ramos. I think he's shown his level now, and Crowley's on the way up. And I'm a big fan of Alistair Crowley as well. Back in the days, so shagging goats and the ritual sacrifice. So definitely going for Crowley in that one.
Is that why you got a farm, Steve?
Yeah.
Oz, are you seeing odds for any of those fights over there? I don't know if I haven't seen anything come across yet. I'm kind of curious, actually.
I'd be really surprised if there was anything available.
Other than Benavidez Plant, that's been up for months.
Yeah, and I think, in all honesty, even when the fight comes next week, I think it'll be quiet. I'd be surprised if I can pick any of these up. The Benavidez Plant odds are out. Benavidez is 2-5. Plant available at 11-4. And if you are interested in the Ramirez Commey fight as well, Ramirez is 1-6. Commey is 11-2.
I think that's fairly good value on Commey if Ramirez's heart isn't in it, to be honest with you. But Yeah, I haven't seen anything other than that. I'm just curious. I feel like a couple of these fights are going to come 50 come close to 50-50 in the books. There's none. It's yeah. So we'll see on that one. Rob, is Rob back on yet, or is he still gone? Jesus Christ, man! Fucking, he picks the worst times to fucking go. Right, I'm telling you. So yeah, this is an interesting one, but the main event. This is the exciting one. I'm looking forward to this a lot. David Benavidez against Caleb Plant. And this is for a shot at Canelo, basically, at the end of the day. They'll maneuver it around. Canelo's only got so many fights for the DAZN deal. Cast that aside. I've already seen Plant against Canelo. I'd kind of like something different. Hey, perfect time for Rob to get back here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this fight goes. Oz, when I'm looking at this fight, I really think this is going to be a true story of two fights. I think that the attributes that Plant has will play very, very well early. But Benavidez, if he makes weight comfortably, he's going to come there as a much bigger man. Oz, I think that the later half of the fight, Benavidez is going to start walking him down, throwing those really short, hard shots that a guy that's built like that shouldn't be able to throw. And once he gets planted against the ropes, 9-10-ish, maybe a little bit later, it's going to be lights out. But it's going to be a good fight until then.
I would agree, and it wouldn't surprise me that if Benavidez was to get the stoppage, it was relatively close on the cards as well. I think Plant will have a lot. I think Plant will have success in this. He seems to piss off a lot of his opponents recently. He's
a fucking asshole, man.
Yeah, he really riled up Canelo, and then Anthony Durrell as well. He really riled up, and Benavidez is in a similar situation as well. So. He's clearly not a likable character in terms of fight week. But one thing he does have skills. I do rate the guy. I don't think, it's weird, when somebody gets stopped like he did. But I don't think he was outclassed against Canelo. I did think he had success. He did win rounds and he did show some qualities. He just didn't have, the power or, ultimately the elite skills to outbox Canelo. But that was coming up to, it was a little while ago now, but he came back with a big win, against Anthony Durrell. Not saying that he wasn't the favourite in that, but I think the manner he did it as well. Benavidez had done that prior as well, but again, Durrell, decent chin, has taken big shots, so that it was an impressive win. And as for Benavidez, I think the weight will come into it. I'd be gutted to see if he does struggle with it. But look, I think he'll be fine. I don't look into his last win against a washed David Lemieux. I think we all know about Lemieux and the way incredibly chinny as such. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. I think this card itself is excellent. From top to bottom. Even look, I don't know. Some of these undercard fighters. I've rarely heard of them, but even a couple of the lower tier ones. I'm just looking at you've got Demla Zamora against is it Jesus Ibarra, 10-0 against a 15-0. The records are quite limited, but again, you don't see that very often now. So again, I think that's 6 fight down on the card. So really, really good card. And if you're going to put something on pay-per-view, you've got to pack it with quality and competitiveness. And I think this card, is a prime example of doing that. Excellent main event. Several fights on the undercard that are pretty decent. I agree with Steve about the Ramos Spencer fight as well. Very, very good. Again, on the Colbert one, if you don't like him or you think Valenzuela has got a chance, again, that's a good one. And Crowley and Ramos as well. So yeah, excellent fight. I'll share. I know we'll go into the predictions, but again, I kind of agree with your breakdown really, but I do think it will be close. I don't think Plant will be deterred by Benavidez whatsoever. I don't want to say he'll try and bully him. I don't think he's got the power to hurt him. That is always a big thing when you're up at this world level, elite level, is that you do need a dig. I don't think he's not feather fisted. He's clearly got some power. I'm just not sure it'll be enough to wear down Benavidez.
Well,
but I do think he will have success, particularly early in the fight as well, as Benavidez warms into it.
Well, let me take that as a point to swing it over to Rob. Rob, I actually think that incredible double left hook knockout that Caleb Plant had over Anthony Durrell could give him too much confidence in his punch, which could be his undoing against David Benavidez. What do you think on that, Rob?
I really, I'm not rooting for Plant, but I favor Plant in the fight. And I'll tell you why. I think Benavidez has been too inactive in his career. He's had fucking. I gotta stop cursing. We got around profanity warnings and all that. I gotta stop cursing. I'm awful. I curse like a trooper on this thing. But Benavidez has had his troubles. I think by all accounts, he's made weight early, and people are making a big deal out of this. Like, that tells you all you need to know about his attitude to the sport. He's a wild character. There's problems outside the sport with drug use and all that. But look, since he's come back, he stopped Durrell. Angulo stopped him. Ronald Ellis, Kyrone Davis, David Lemieux. So he hasn't, like, Jay Leon Love is probably and Ronald Gavril, the biggest other names on his record. So while he's looked brilliant against this opposition previously, what kind of level is the opposition? I'm not saying Caleb Plant is in with killers. He won his title against Ustakagi and then defended it against, I think, Vinny Fagenbutz and some other stiff before ultimately losing to Canelo. But as he was well in the fight with Canelo, absolutely well in the fight. He was giving Canelo all kinds of trouble at different stages in the fight. Not trouble, but he was having trouble finding him, I guess. But Benavidez has high output. So can he smother Caleb Plant? I know that people are saying Plant's not much of a puncher, but he places his punches so well. He decked Ustakagi a couple of times as well. Not a lot of people saw it coming. So I'm going to go Caleb Plant here, I think.
Oh,
I'm leaning towards Caleb Plant by his tight split decision.
Interesting.
I've got my prediction league in the last 2 weeks, but I don't know. Benavidez has a lot of backing in that as well. And I know Oz was saying there about being an asshole or whatever, but I think these two, the history is here with these two fucking going back since 2016 or something, isn't it? Like,
yeah, there's bad blood for sure.
For sure, like, because they had the altercation and that, didn't they, in one of the gyms, and there was a bit of a punch up, and then there was Plant was always taking stabs at him, like when Benavidez was saying, like, Plant shouldn't be getting world opportunities, and he's like, well, you can't stay off coke, like, or you still be world champion. You know what I mean? So it was like they've had a bit of needle back and forth for years. It's a really interesting fight, and whoever wins is really going to give the other one verbals after the bell, you can imagine. I don't know what I have a feeling Benavidez is going to gas or something. I think he's going to down the back stretch. I think he's going to look a bit wobbly. Like, I just have a feeling Plant, and I think that's dangerous times for Plants too, around 9 to 12. If Benavidez is still high activity, but I just don't know. I just think Plant sharper. I'm just edging towards Plant at the moment.
Yeah, Rob, it's I have a friend that's from that part of the country there, and they're interesting people. They're, like white country people, but they're really close to Memphis. So there's some real rough shit in there, man. Like, these guys come from a very rough world over there, actually. People don't think about it. I'm not, Plant's tough. He's been through some shit, that's for sure. I give him hell for, calling him the blackest man in boxing, sarcastically, but he's a tough son of a bitch. Andy, can you get up for this fight? Can you? I'm not saying
I can get up for this one.
All right. I'm not saying stay up. You're an old man. I don't expect you to hang up. But shit, this fight might be coming on when you're waking up on Sunday morning. It might work out quite well.
Especially the length of the undercard, anyway, mate. I was actually on the fence with this one, actually picking, a winner. And just listening to Rob, I was kind of like more agreeing with what he was saying. That was kind of how I was maybe kind of thinking about it. Maybe the experience of Plant as well will tell. I agree about the weight issue. It'll be interesting to see how Benavidez looks on the scales. He has looked awful on certain occasions. Sometimes he doesn't seem to kind of rehydrate properly. He still looks quite frail in the ring. And you wonder as well, is it just dragging his arse down to 160, is it going to be one step too far again in the end? And Plant is, by all intents and purposes, a very good athlete. He's always in shape, comes to fight. I think his power's a wee bit underappreciated, possibly. I think he could keep Benavidez honest, especially if he starts targeting the body. The
Dude,
left hook.
with what he did, if he somehow sparked Benavidez after the way he acted after he fucking sent Darrell to sleep, can you imagine the way he'd
Oh
react in
man,
that ring? It
fucking
would
hell.
I'm not even pulling for him, and that would be worth the fucking show, to be honest with
He
you.
literally asked to get his gloves cut off so he can pull his cock out and piss on him or something like that, you know? Something fucking outrageous. Listen, there will be some tasty shit going on. I expect there to be issues at the weigh-in possibly as well. The old man, Benavidez Senior, he seems to be there on a lot of chatting, which I don't like to see. I don't like to see the dads doing too much talk because at the end of the day, it's not them, it's fighting. Benavidez seems, every time you see him in interviews or when the two of them are kind of close together, like he's always mouthing off, he's always raging. Plant seems to be kind of a bit more placid about it, maybe kind of more kind of calmer about it. But yeah, I think it'll be close. I just wonder if Plant survives the first 6-7 rounds, which I think Benavidez is probably going to try and put it on him a little bit. I often wonder as well, is Benavidez really got the confidence in his engine to go 12 rounds? I mean, you need to wonder as well. This is Benavidez's real first step up. His first real opponent, really. With the Brighton saying that. I mean, as Rob mentioned, like the guys like Graville and Love, I think it was, and what was his name? Medina. No great names, is it? I know he's got Anthony Darrell on his record and that, but the rest is the Lemieux. Faded, no great.
If you take out Canelo, how much better is Caleb Plant's resume?
This is what I'm saying. So basically, does the winner basically is the best winner of the career possibly? I don't know. I mean, the thing is as well is what's Benavidez really achieved that Plant really hasn't. Uskatagi was a decent win. Truax was coming off the Gale win at that point possibly, or was that a few years before?
He was, yeah.
Feigen Boots is obviously a terrible one at the end of the day. At least he stopped him. That's all I can say. Alvarez, he lasted as what was it, 10, 11 rounds?
11 rounds, yeah.
Had the title in one of the scorecards, or maybe two of the scorecards. It says maybe the ledgers, as you say, Matt, drop off the Canelo one, so the Canelo fight, the ledgers might be kind of lacking a little bit. So you can maybe say this is going to be whoever wins is either guy's best winner of the career so far. But I would say Plant probably got the kind of better resume, to be fair, and better experience, bigger fights, stayed professional, hadn't lost his title on the scales, or due to drug tests or whatever and that. So there's a few factors at play here. There was one thing, obviously Aussie picked up on it as well when we're doing the predictions for last week. With Jojo Diaz, all the stuff breaking during the week and that he's facing more lawsuits, that type of thing. Things that kind of like come out during fight week that we just don't know about a week in advance, basically. So, the weight
I think how
really the main
Benavidez,
thing for me.
I wouldn't put money on this until I see how Benavidez looks at the weigh-in.
True, and also as well, but it's some sort of title fight as well, so he'll need to make the weight if he's going to be kind of get back himself into the rankings. And I think it's an interim title, I think it is. But again, as you say, see how he looks in the scales. I think he's going to look like he usually does. He's going to look that gaunt way, skinny, and he'll probably not look good in the ring as well when he does the 24-hour rehydration. So it'll probably come down to what's he got left in the tank, and his Plant just going to kind of probe him for the first half of the fight, and then maybe try and put it on the gas, kind of on the back half, and he's maybe kind of taking Benavidez his best shots possibly. But I wouldn't count out Plant as well actually, because I think you might just try and catch Benavidez when he's walking toward them, maybe try and catch him a check hook or something like that, maybe catch him at the body and assault him that way. But if Benavidez gets over aggressive, I think Plant, he will stand him at one point, but I also expect him to kind of back off and maybe try and counter him as well and possibly hurt him that way. But I'm kind of siding with Plant on points, but it's one of these ones, mate. I've been sitting on the fence for it for so long. I still haven't kind of definitely concretely kind of saying that, but I'll go with Plant just now anyway.
Well, wait, yeah. Steve, have you been swayed anything by the words of your peers?
No, not at all. I'm looking forward to the fight first of all, but Wellington not hanging around here. El Bandera Roja raising the red flag, Matty, after he ices Caleb Plant. Come on there, boys. This is going to be far and away his best win on the resume. Plant has a better resume at the moment, no doubt. Did a good job against Canelo for as long as it lasted. But I've been on the Benavidez train now for a few years since I saw him live. He's a beast. I'm not ready to jump off that train now.
He is just massive, Steve. I mean,
Yeah.
compared, he's the biggest cruiserweight that it just isn't a freak show. Excuse me, junior mid or super middleweight.
Yeah, junior light heavyweight. You mentioned earlier about Plant. He's experienced. I think he's experienced enough that he won't believe in his power, even though he absolutely iced Durrell. He's going to be buoyed by that. I love the Gravedigger celebration afterwards. I know he tried to walk it back with a load of bullshit. We all know what he was doing there. His performance against Canelo was pretty good as well at the time. He does mark up to the face, though, at times. He can be quite conservative and struggle to get guys out of there that he should be. But Benavidez just loves a fight. He just loves hitting people. You watch these lower level operators like Tyrone Davis he's been in against and Ronald Ellis, and they try to soak it up as best as they can. Even Durrell had success against him. Ricky Graville had success, knocked him down as well in that first fight. But styles make fights. Benavidez, the more you hit him, the more he just loves it. And you mentioned about the beef. I think it was whenever Plant beat Mike Lee, which is one of his best performances, actually. Put his shots together lovely against Lee, who was limited but undefeated at the time. Benavidez was ripping the piss out of him afterwards, saying he couldn't draw a crowd and all this, but they don't like each other. We all know that. But Benavidez, it's going to be really competitive and he will get touched up. But the more Plant hits him, the more he's going to love it. And I think later on in the fight, maybe the same kind of time as Canelo, 11 or 12, I think Benavidez is going to get to him. Would not be surprised if it went the distance, but Benavidez all the way for me. And then I want to see him fighting Canelo, no pissing about. And if we can't get Canelo, David Morrell. I'd love to see the winner against Morrell. I think that'd be an absolute war.
Morrell is a vicious, vicious bastard at times, too. That could be a fun fight. Honestly, if Plant was to win, Plant versus Morrell would be preferable to me than seeing the Canelo rematch. We've probably will see enough Canelo rematches when all is said and done over the next 18 months. But let's go to predictions. And since we just did that, let's switch it up. So maybe we forget a little bit what's going on. We'll start with Crowley versus Ramos. Canadian coming in there on a good run here. So, picking first is going to be Mr. Patterson.
What was the fight, mate? Cody Crowley?
Yep.
I'll go with Crowley on points.
Crowley points. All right. Next up on that is going to be Oz.
The same as Andrew.
All right, Crowley on points. Okay, and Rob.
I was thinking Crowley on stoppage, but yeah, I'm going to go points. I don't think he's not a massive puncher, so yeah, points.
Yeah, that's a good strategic play right there, Rob. Let's see here.
Well, I've bet big on Caleb Plant, haven't I? So.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm also going Crowley. I think, you know what, though? I am going to go with that stoppage. I have nothing to lose here at this point in time, other than just being in the toilet with Andy. Nothing going on here. Steven, let me just say here that if for some reason Ramos pulled this off and you were able to come up with a perfect week and they missed this, you would gain a little bit of ground, and it wouldn't make a win completely out of bounds here. You kind of got to throw up a couple of half court shots here, but you could do it if you played it a certain way.
Are you trying to tell me something here, sorry?
I'm just saying again that if Ramos wins and no one picks him, you're going to be sad.
He's trying
You're going to have to be
Steve,
explicit. I'm too thick for little nuanced comments.
He's trying to say you need to win the 2 Old Firm games and then hope we drop points somewhere else. You know that's what he's trying to say.
I will blame it on the I will blame it on the time and not your intellect, Steve. I refuse to believe that of you.
No, I'm more Alloa Athletic. I'm going Alistair Crowley on points as well.
Oh man, you guys are boring.
Rabbit hole asylum.
God damn. Well, I hope Crowley gets a stoppage here. All right, and then going to Benavidez versus Plant. All right, let's see who goes first. Oh boy, me. I am going with Benavidez by stoppage. All right, and next up is going to be Andy.
What was the fight, mate? Sorry.
Benavidez versus Plant.
He does it on purpose.
I'm pretty sure he does. I'm pretty sure at this point he does. Benavidez.
No, seriously, what was the fight? Benavidez against
versus Plant. Yeah.
Plant points.
Okay. All right. All right. Next up is going to be Rob. Rob, Benavidez versus Plant. Don't fuck with me.
It's Rob Kelly versus Plant.
I think Plant's getting the better of it.
He's up on the cards anyway, put it that way. I think Plant's by decision.
All right. All right. Next up, going to be Steve.
Benavidez stoppage. Plant's face is going to look like Errol Spencer's reversed over him by that point.
Oz, you got all right.
I'm going to go Benavidez. Decision.
All right, Benavidez points. Okay, interesting. Some differences here, and Rob with his 4-point lead here. Yeah, getting interesting down this last couple of weeks here. I'll have to figure out what to choose from that shit Anthony Joshua card for next week.
Fuck all, mate. It's absolutely dire. Spoiler. Just do the under over in the main event.
That's kind of thinking where we might end up, and watch it ends up going the distance. Wouldn't that be
Franklin's in with a big shot.
If that happened, Rob, oh my God, that would be the one outcome.
Just from a betting perspective, Jermaine Franklin is 15-2. If this was the Joshua of 4 or 5 years ago, Franklin would be, you're looking at, like, I reckon 15-18-1, something like that. Nowhere near as short. And 15-2 in boxing is a big price, but I'm surprised he's as short as that, if anything.
7.5 to 1. I'm in it. Have a bit of that, Maddie. What do you reckon in a parlay?
I'm not messing with anything until Ramirez beats Dogbay. I need Benavidez and I need Dogbay, so I'm really pulling against you there, Rob. So,
what Ramirez is that against Dog? Oh, Robezi, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think Dogbo could beat Ramirez?
No, I've got Ramirez.
Oh right, I was going to say, bloody hell, that's. I was going to say you're getting like 6-7 to 1 if you think that.
Yeah, I don't think Dogbay. Well, I mean, we'll obviously get to this next week. I think Dogbay is just like tailor made for Robesi Ramirez. I can see him get that right hook around the guard all night.
I think he'll get stopped.
Yeah, I think he will as well.
So, but yeah, we'll touch on that next week, obviously. But yeah, so we got a fun Saturday coming up. Like I said, you can pick and choose whatever boxing you want to watch for like 10, 12 hours on end, man.
Need EPO for next week, man.
What's that?
Need EPO for next week.
Gonna need EPO. Yeah, I'm going to going to a show in the afternoon, so I'm gonna have to catch up on some of this shit. So yeah,
Wessapalooza?
Yeah, man. But I want to go to Wessapalooza one time, Steve. I now insist on somehow going to Wessapalooza. That's a bucket list item.
Imagine it was a typo and you went to Wazapalooza instead. You need a different type of bucket list.
I hope I read it wrong and I go to Wapapalooza. That'd be a fucking great mistake. Fuck. Like, hey, we win. All right. Anyways, yeah, good time with the lads this week. Nothing came into the super chats, and that makes me feel sad. But what makes me feel happy is finding out when new people join the Patreon. And I find that out oftentimes when people get into the Boxing Nutters Messenger group. So if you have been wondering what goes on in there and you want to get in on the next season of the Prediction League and the big cash pool that we have everybody put together, it's a good number in there. So if you want to get in on that action, make sure you get into the Patreon. Steve will do the rest for you. And it's a good time in there, and it's very competitive. There's some guys in there that really know their stuff. They make all of us look bad. I mean, it's easy to make me look bad, but sometimes to make Oz and Rob look bad at times.
Well, I'd be winning that if I was in it. I'll be knocking out all bums in the prediction league.
No, some of them dickheads got Asperov, Rob. They thought it through.
Sure, fucking Dave. Everybody's got something these days.
Aspirin.
They're all on the spectrum.
Asperov disorder. At least you offended a new group this week. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, we love the autistic, great bunch of lads. So.
Oh, dear.
So anyhow, I think that's a good segue into value of the week, Steve. That is as good as any.
Oh my god. What episode are we on again?
515.
515, episode 515 for value of the week. We have Andy here, Matty, Ozzy, and rapping Rob Kelly alongside me, Steve. I have gathered them all together as best as I can, including this video. I think it was maybe Ricky Gavriel or somebody who sent this to me. I can't quite remember. Frank Warren going in on Tony Bellew.
Check before you press play on that.
Is this one with Gary Lineker by any chance? Juggiers. If it is, Steve, didn't he play it? We'll get banned.
No, it's not. It's Frank Warren.
It's not called Michael Jackson announced again, is it?
No, I don't think
so. Is
it
worse than that?
No, it's not. It's not that bad. But he's going in on Bellew, which is fitting for Bellew of the week. It's something we can all get on board with, boys. Yes, I have checked it before, and it's quite legal. This is Frank.
Who cares what Tony Bellin says? I mean, who gives a toss? It's insignificant. These guys are the best. These are Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famer fighters. These are great fighters. Who gives a monkeys what he's saying? You mean to say if it was him there, he wouldn't be saying that he wants the lion's share and so forth? Do me a favour.
Tony Bellin.
He went rogue in that interview. Did Warren? He came. He hammered the BBC. He just went in on it. I think he called the BBC pussies and stuff like that.
He did. He's going full Bob Aaron, isn't he, Warren?
Yeah, he loved it, didn't he? What caught me off guard is just the way he went. Who cares what Tony Bellend has to say? It was just like completely. I was shocked by it.
It's like he listens to us, wasn't it? It's like
Tony's going to respond to that. Like, Tony can't take that line down, surely.
If it was the other way around, the said person calling Frank a Bellend would have solicitors' papers coming through the door within 48 hours. So Frank clearly knows where he stands. Only speaks the facts. So I don't think any papers will be coming through his door anytime soon. To do with Anthony Bellew, anyway.
Not to do with that, anyway. That's Frank.
Exactly that.
Frank leading us in. We showed this one earlier, Andy. You were quite rightly bigging up the World Championship. What was it, Hardcore Boxing Association or something going on?
Yeah, every fucker, because they're even calling them world champions when they got that belt as well by some reason. I actually wanted to bring that one up because I'm actually going to bring that one was threefold. So I don't know if I just bring up one of the two that I've got in the mate as well, because State of the Belts as we mentioned, but Big Baby got announced on that same show as a WBA NABA World Champion, and Big Daddy got presented as the living legend of Australia. So Jesus fucking wept, man. And I found this one fucking funny. Yeah. Well, what do you hear this one? Jake Donovan says on the card, still don't know how 2 repeat drug testing offenders can headline on a platform sponsored by a substance abuse treatment centre, and yet no random drug testing for this fight. Just a fantastic sport all round.
You got a little boxing, haven't you?
The whole thing is complete toilet, and then you got the fucking belt which get handed out like fucking confetti. Jesus Christ. So title watch, baby.
To be fair, if those guys were on steroids, they need to ask for their money back.
Go on, the lads. That's you, Andy. Yeah, you put that one up as well. Big Baby getting announced to the WBA NABA World Champion, Big Daddy, as the living legend of Australia. We love a bit of Big Daddy. Talking to living legends, actually, Adrian Broner signed with Don King. He says, I can hardly wait to get back into the ring again. Winning a world title and constantly defending or unifying the titles is what I am aiming to do.
Go.
See that fucking picture of the two of them, right? Where there was about 10 grand cash on the table. Broner, get that, put it in your pockets, because that's all you're gonna fucking see.
No, mate, that's Diamond Dubois money sitting on that table right there.
That's goddamn alimony right there, my friends.
It's just destined to end in a bad way, this, isn't it? And
Don't be
Don
so
King-
cynical,
I know.
Ozzy. Come on, man.
Ozzy, come on, but it's going to be amazing, mate, to watch.
Listen,
Fucking brother, man.
we know where this ends, and it ends on Adrian Broner's Instagram live, where he's going, "I'm sick of this, y'all. I'm going to play it again. They're robbing me."
Who do we think the first opponent will be for?
Here we
Big
are.
Gabe.
Breaking
Oh,
news.
yeah.
Adrian Broner and Victor Ortiz are in talks.
Right. So listen, it's really a question. If this fight goes ahead, who's the first person to get arrested for rape?
Both
Because
of them
Ortiz has already had that. Broner has got to be waiting a chap at the door coming.
Those charges were dropped, I think, to be fair.
No smoke without fire, Matty.
He's doing bits.
Oh, this.
Here's another one from you, Andy. The WBC, 15th of March, 20. Conor Benn sliding in there, greasing his way into number 7 behind Abel Ramos, Mario Barrios, and a number of others there. Straight back into the ring.
Straight in the ranks. What do you think, boys? He deserved it. You know, he's been cleared all wrongdoing, apparently, and just slotted them right back in there with their pretext or pretense of, contaminated eggs. Brilliant to see. So this must mean he's back in the clean boxing program, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Yeah, you would think so.
Well, that's going to have a big impact on the sport, that clean boxing program. We'll see it doing a lot of good things in the future. For fuck's sake.
Jesus Christ, Dr. SMT, man.
Don't say that. Just let it exist on the screen.
You'll have to, if you're listening to this, go back and watch the Belly of the Week.
And if you're listening to this, don't tell anyone.
Yeah. Don't say it out loud. Just read it and laugh to yourself. Here's one for you, Matty. Paddy Power are going the odds for the next US president or something or other. Nancy Pelosi there coming in at 80-1. Don't know who Marianne Williamson is, but fair play to her. Bernie Sanders there. Beto O'Rourke, Kim Kardashian, and Steve Bullock. And 66-1 there, Matty. Oscar De La Hoya, next president.
I don't even know that he's going to still be the president of his company in 2024, let alone president of the United States. A little bit optimistic. I don't like those odds.
Oh, dear. Good old Oscar. He's doing his best. Matty, you mentioned... Andy, you mentioned this one earlier. Shout out for Big Fat Terence O'Connor, as Ozzy calls him, for the Ahmed Braithwaite card. He's got to get a nomination, hasn't he, for that?
Oh, I was going to nominate him as well, mate. The board need to be investigating that shit. I mean, he's like I said, we've seen him on his phone. Maybe he's just handing his scorecard when he got to the arena. I do not know, mate, but he certainly wasn't watching. But everybody, he must have been the only person who's seen a completely different fight to the rest of everybody else that was watching it, because nobody that I've seen had Ahmed winning that fight, let alone 117, 111, just winning the fight period. But that was outrageous scorecards, mate.
Matty, just back to Oscar. Michael Thompson says Oscar would love to be in the White House. He could have was it Holly Saunders, his side piece as First Lady.
First Lady, yeah.
Just didn't get the photograph taken next to the fucking fireplace, man. She'd be like candle wax by the end. Like.
I wonder what political scandals could Oscar possibly get involved in.
Oh, mate. I tell you what, we're talking about Broner and Ortiz. Oscar's fucking waiting for a chap at the door, man.
Oh, dear. Isaac Lowe has been busy this weekend anyway. He tweeted out here, top of the morning, everyone. Hope everyone time for a coffee. They up the hills with the team. So there's a bit of Monday motivation for you from Isaac himself. Yeah,
makes your eyes bleed, that, eh?
He's loving life. Sound on, boxer. The speed and snap of some of those David Light punches. The WBO #1 challenger is bringing it all in as he looks to shock and stop Lawrence Okoli. Give it up, lads. It wasn't quite Beterbiev hitting the pads anyway, Andy.
No, mate, it certainly was not. So, fucking Beterbiev, man. Fucking that cunt punches balls, man. This cunt's punching pads, for fuck's sake.
Dr. FMG, First Lady Ryan Gosling.
We're gonna go in it. We're gonna go in to Syria, and we're gonna be rough and tough.
fucking Ryan Garcia losing the feminist vote because he's slagging people who carry handbags.
It's gonna be interesting to see Oscar dismantle the South American envoy and take all those negotiations on himself.
Oh dear, he's doing well, old Oscar. Update on Dazn HD. We underestimated how many of our existing customers would want access to our new linear channel, Dazn 1 HD, on channel 429 on Sky. We have listened to you, and our technical team is working hard to find a solution that will give those of you with Sky boxes access to Dazn. I think it was their own bots, probably, Andy. They started paying attention to.
They must have just changed the fucking battery in the hearing aid to start hearing people, because we've been saying it for years now, actually, since the turn. Why is it on an app? Frank Warren's been destroying Eddie for fucking 18 months now about this shitty app. Release the numbers, all that type of stuff. We've been saying it ourselves on here for God knows how long. People who have got to put in their details constantly, just, misinformation, and it's like, oh, pay-per-view's dead, and well, we're just lying about that. Today I'm telling the truth. Load of bollocks, man. Good luck to them. Good luck to them. I think it's stuck in between some mad channels, though. I think it's stuck between Eurosport and some sort of kind of
Television X.
Television X.
Live
10-minute preview of his own.
Live
And then there's no fights for you after encryption.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Here he is. David Diamante opens up on returning to film Creed 3 just 2 months after his motorcycle accident. He's the biggest bullshitter in boxing, this guy.
Walter Diamante, did he just, I says to Ben, did he just arrive, did he just finish travelling Chile and Cambodia in 2 days to give that interview to start? Oh, what a disgrace that was, man. I was in cringe mode listening to them.
They were all like, Diamante's not going to be here. And he was like, Diamante will be here. Diamante will be here. Fuck's sake.
Like he was an important part of the show. What happened to Buffer, man? Is he retired?
I tell you what, right? There's a lad I know, and I was out for a few pints with him the other night, and I'm not telling his name, so it doesn't matter. But he said he's got a fair few demons, but he says he's in Liars Anonymous. I said I could have fucking told you that. Fucking tell lies. There's no such fucking organization as Liars Anonymous. Get the fuck out of here. And now I know you're lying.
What shows.
Oh, Lions Anonymous. Tim Boxeo, I don't know how it's gone down, but the California Grizzly, aka the UK assassin,
apparently got robbed, mate. Apparently he was winning the fight. According to Tim Boxeo, he was winning the fight and he got fucking jobbed on the cards.
Is that right?
Apparently so. Aye.
That was tonight then?
That was tonight, aye.
Against Ayman Farouk Abbas 4-8.
Lovejoy lost on the cards.
Must have done, yeah.
You see if I can get the scores, mate. Give me a second here.
Ayman Farouk, they're the real take aims, getting a win over Lovejoy. 20-1, 20 KOs, 100% KO ratio, 100% KO knockout ratio. Is it 20-1? Did he not lose?
So it was a six-round fight. Tim Boxeo say they had him winning. It was a draw, sorry. I think it was
a draw.
Right. And it's just basically saying it's a robbery. We have a scorecard, the fight is a draw. As it says, I think the guys had basically somehow Lovejoy winning every round.
In Egypt. Well, if what the carpets were on the ring.
Remember that, man.
Oh, he got knocked out on one of those Misfits cars, didn't he? So it probably didn't count on the record.
Quit. Did he not quit or something like that?
Did he? He got dropped by a jab or something, didn't he? I didn't actually see it. Right. That doesn't count then on the record because it was like an exhibition or something. That was the Mayweather undercard, wasn't he?
That what it was?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't been keeping up with the career of Chris Lovejoy, to my shame. Maybe the boys in the chat can let us know. Yeah, he lost to Manny Char. That was the loss. I was thinking of the recent one, though, MB. But that was technically an exhibition or something, wasn't it? Because it was on the Mayweather undercard. Don't want to bring the Christopher Lovejoy's reputation into disrepute here on this Sunday evening. A-side, Eddie Hearn against Simon Jordan. I might actually break my duck, Andy, and tune into this on TalkSport.
You need to remind me, actually. I think I might listen to it as well. But obviously, Matchroom sending out the tweet there and Eddie jumping on it, calling him the A-side, in-house cooking. I don't know how it's going to go, actually, to be fair, because it's just a battle of the egos, battle of the toffs, I think. But at the same time, I think it will turn into a bit of a shouting match. One talking over the other and that. Eddie,
promo for the AJ fight because it's not selling
Aye.
the fucking thing. He needs Jordan now. Like, he didn't need him before. He used to say like his ego was getting in the way, but he's got willing to fucking concede now because they're trying to do anything to put asses in seats for this fucking bum fight that's coming up.
I know. It was like the last 2 weeks for Eddie, plus that Joshua fight, man. There's a lot of folk going to these fights dressed up as seats these days, isn't there? Fucking hell, man. There's loads of empty seats, like.
They'll have to start putting cardboard cutouts out like they did when the COVID was on. Do you remember?
Be back to the back garden and the 12 fucking euro pizza.
The 12 euro pizza, burnt fucking shite. Aye, so as I say, that hopefully it doesn't turn into a bit of kind of back and forth where you can't hear the other and that. But
yeah.
I just hope Jordan destroys him just for the banter. We'll have I think Tuesday will be a good day on Twitter. I think actually.
I was saying in the Nutters group the other day, though, Andy, the good thing is about Jordan, the way Eddie likes to dismiss people and he'll be like, oh, you're bedwetting virgins in your mother's basement. He can't do that with Jordan, can he? Because he was like a multi-millionaire or whatever. I don't know what he is now, but he was worth 100 million or something. Eddie can't dismiss him like that, can he? The old bedwetting virgin.
Yeah, I suppose, but he's on national radio, so you'll not get away with that. That stuff, to be fair. But Eddie's a master manipulator of these type of situations. If you get a presenter who lets him just fucking go, you've no chat. You're not going to rein him in. He's just going to go full bullshit spiel mode. You need someone to fucking clamp him, hit him with the facts, put him on the back foot, and get him to explain it. Jordan needs to do it. Jordan needs to have his facts in front of him, make sure they're fucking solid.
Barker never fought Sturm.
Something along those lines. So he's got to be spot on. But I think probably the most talked point I think it will be coming up here will be the Conor Benn situation.
Oh, you think?
Or without doubt, but I know how Eddie's going to handle it. He's going to hide behind the kind of the legal ego speak. He'll just say, "Oh, well, I can't talk too much about it because our lawyers are still an ongoing situation, so to speak. The lawyers are looking at it." Whereas any other time, Eddie's out giving his fucking opinion on every other fucking part of the side of the story. But if he's on national radio, he'll no still want to talk about it possibly. So we'll wait and see how he handles it. But Eddie's generally kind of quite good at handling or deflecting. What I call bullshit mode, full spiel mode. But yeah, what time's it due on it actually?
Someone said 10 in the morning, is it?
10 in the morning, is it? Aye, it'll be interesting.
You got Jim White there, Mr. Probellum as well.
Oh, fucking
Most
Jim
of our
Shite.
listeners don't wake up that early.
Jim Shite, man, fucking hell. Helmet, absolute helmet.
I take that back. Sometimes they're still up that time from the night before.
I'm going to say, what time will that be for you, Matty? About 2 a.m. You going to get up for it?
No.
Worth a listen on the replay, though, Matty.
As a wise man once said, Jesus Christ, get yourself.
If it's available to pay.
Did you ice him, Matty?
No, I did not actually. That was fucking.
It's like the pod has
shit.
come full circle back to the beginning.
That was so perfect. That was so perfect. He just
he iced himself. And then his battery died. Oh,
he was just super offended by something and bailed out.
That's all the ones that I've got. Obviously, Buatsi as well as Marcus Bellinger threw in, and Gilberto Ramirez. Sorry, failing to make weight, and Broner joining up with Don King. We've already thrown that one in. Those are all the ones I've got. Andy, I know you threw in a few earlier. Any more to add to the pot?
Oh God, yes, yes. I mentioned the I mentioned the ones about the UAE. Fat Terry, obviously, for that scorecard, absolute disgrace. I tell you what I forgot to mention actually was BG Flores getting shot at gun.
Yeah, in Colombia.
In Colombia.
I saw that.
So, apparently he'd posted on his IG where he was. So, and then obviously that's how he must have found him or whatever and that. So there he is sitting in a car, fucking lights or whatever and that. Fucking window comes down. He's got the Rolex and he's got shot in the leg apparently. So that's what you get for disrespecting flyweight fighters, BG Flores. Fucking lucky to be alive, I must admit. Especially that
fucking, just fucking dogs biting his dick and fucking getting shot in the leg. That son of a bitch has had a rough time, dude.
Dillian White popped up last night to shit on Jarrell Miller, saying Jarrell Miller is so shit. Right? No, it's not a stutter. And Michael Hunter jumps in and says, "Brah, you can't talk." So Yep.
Did he really? I didn't see
Did,
that.
did you see that? I'll stick it in the chat there for D. Wills fucking basically getting taken to school. Just chag it in there. There we go, mate.
Brilliant.
Zurdo Ramirez coming out saying he's embarrassed and upset by his actions. What were his actions? What the fuck did he do, man? He missed the weight so bad. As I say, someone's come out and said now that he missed up or messed his fight dates or whatever. And that surely the fuck that can't be true.
Don't know.
Surely someone that kind of keep that up to date for him. And one for the WBC, Jake Donovan put out a tweet there. I think it was middle of the week saying the WBC are set to give a 6 interim titleists, 5 of which will belong to PBC. This one is in a division where who already have a champion, a mandatory challenger, and ordered a title eliminator, all linked to the PBC. If WBO equals whatever Bob orders, what do we call this ongoing WBC PBC merger? So it's quite interesting.
That's a good point, actually. It is getting ridiculous, isn't it? If you
Aye.
notice, the interim titles, they're being like fought for
It's like
a
WBA.
few weeks after they're being defended. It's just stupid.
It's like the WBA. So I think that was more related to the 147, because I think it was Ugas against Barrios. It's for an interim title
That's
at
right. That's
147.
been ordered. Yep, saw that. Yeah.
Fucking so 6 belts. That's just incredible. So one for the BBC, mate. That's it for me.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Matty, any from you, please?
Yeah, Steve. I'd like to narrow it down, but looking at it, the judging all through the weekend, I think gets it. You'd like to narrow it down to one card or one fight. But you had that fight on Friday. You said it shouldn't have been a draw. That was with the 117, 111. Austin, one of the worst cards he's seen. The Glanton Asperov fight, the cards on that were ridiculous. Some of the just all over that card, the cards were freaking ridiculous. Diaz versus Yesta, another card on that DAZN one. Just the judging this weekend was fucking pathetic. I mean, what's the point of even being there if that's what you're going to come up with? Just ridiculous.
What's the point of even being there, Rob, if that's what you're going to come up with? Anything from you on the Belly of the Weeks?
Nothing from me this week, Steve.
Nothing from Rob, nothing from Ozzy either, who's left us. Right, let's have a quick flick through the things that we got. We had Frank, first of all, at the top of the Bellew of the Weeks, calling Bellew a bell end. We had the belts as well. We had Adrian Broner signing with Don King and talking about Victor Ortiz fight. We had Connor Clem getting thrown in there, number 7 in the WBC rankings. We had Oscar De La Hoya running for president. We had Terry O'Connor scorecard. We had Isak Warrior Low saying, well, not really quite sure what he was saying. David Light getting bigged up by Boxer. Dazn with their HD access. David Diamante with his access all areas bullshit. The California Grizzly, that is Lovejoy, getting the draw tonight in Egypt on the carpets. And Eddie Hearn against Simon Jordan. They're putting a poster up for the big fight next Tuesday. Who are you going for this week, Andy?
It's too easy to pick on the zone these days, and that Dubai card really put out some fucking trash as well with the belts and fucking the announcements and all that type of shit. But I want to go for Broner, just simply because you go from one bad decision to the other to the most exceptional, fucking disgraceful decision he'll ever make in his life. Signing with Don King, man, that's just signing your life, your rights, and your whole fucking mortgage right out the window. He'll never see a penny, poor cunt. So we wish him well, put it that way. So I'm going to go for AB.
For a man who was in a wheelchair and on his knees doing some unquestionable things. This is one of the stupidest things he's done so far, signing with Don King. Let's see if he can outlive evil, Matty. That's who's getting Andy's vote. Who are you going for?
I think I got to go that way too. Just the unholy alliance between Don King and Adrian Broner. But Adrian Broner with this huge beard, I'd like to see what Ryan Deal could do with imposing Don King together with Adrian Broner, because I think Don King's hair and Adrian Broner's beard with Adrian Broner's fat gnome, I think it'd look like a lawn gnome.
Broner and Don King hooking up together, Rob. Who would have thought it? Who are you going for?
I would have thought there's a better DK to hook up with if you're Adrian Broner than Don King. Do you know what I mean? But there's not much of a difference. I don't know. Like, could fucking Don King and Adrian Broner be the alliance that saves boxing? Like, is Broner coming back to 147 to claim all the fucking marbles? Like, is this fight with Victor Ortiz going to happen? Like, let's be honest about it. Broner, man, come on, fuck me. You could sell Broner magic beans at this stage, couldn't you? Like, fuck's sake. Yeah, so yeah, it's got to be that one. Like, outlandish fucking proposition. Don King and Adrian Broner together, man. Holy shit.
Only in America.
Only in America. Endorsed by Rob Kelly.
Just walking away.
We'll make it a foursome. I'll go for Adrian Broner and Don King as well, who got us a copyright strike a few months ago. So fuck Don King. You are the Bellew of the Week's winners for episode 515. Matty loves a Patreon subscriber. I can confirm we have none this week.
It's going to be some Christmas party, by the way, isn't it? Chris Lovejoy, Don King, and fucking Adrian Broner.
Exactly. It would indeed, over on King Vision or whatever it's called these days. Yeah, no Patreon subscribers, unfortunately, and no super chatters. Just before I hand over to you, Matty, to close out the show, a bit of a sad note, especially personally. I forgot to mention this last weekend. RIP to Pat McGee, Irish boxing manager, real good guy. Pat knew him right from the beginning, always had plenty of time supporting the sport and supporting myself as well. He was a manager of Brian McGee, Anthony Kakachi, Tommy McCarthy, Kiko Martinez, and Poon Sawat, who defeated Bernard Dunn back in 2009. Great guy, Pat. Gone too soon. RIP, Pat McGee. Thank you, Matty.
All right. Well, yes, rest in peace, sir. He sounds like a heck of a guy. Definitely someone you thought highly of. So rest in peace, sir. But we do thank everybody who joined us today for our shenanigans. What a strange, yet somehow incredibly entertaining weekend of boxing we had this last weekend. Looking forward to this pay-per-view coming up, and there's a whole lot of stuff coming up April and early June. So hang on tight, boxing fans. It's going to be a good one. Thanks to Ozzie Smith, Andy Patterson, Rob Kelly, and Steve Wellings for coming on. I've been your host, Matt DiGianardo. Have a fantastic week.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to Adam move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't it? 7-year ain't it? I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds, simple as that.